to speak. Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here, Fred shouts.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, Fred!
Welcome to episode 435 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, February 22nd, 2024 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergan, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From Northrend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. As always, thank you for your reviews. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice. It always helps other people find the show. So we are going to do a relatively quick Life and Ladder because while we thought this would be a just core set episode and a few reveals, we got patch notes. So we're gonna be going over. We're going to kind of speedily as we can go over the balance changes that we got, and some of them more impactful than others. And then we do have a few doozies of reveals to go over, just the 3, but they're all legendaries and pretty wacky in their own rights. And then we're going to dive into core, what's leaving, what's coming back, what's changed, etc. So, should be, good length show. we'll hopefully still be able to keep it under last week's time, which is the longest in a while at like 2 hours, 20 minutes. But in terms of my Life and Ladder, since the balance patch, I decided to go back to Highlander Shaman. Just because that's an interesting one that I feel like can, have a decent shot against most stuff, even potentially against a Plague DK if you just get Holiday online quickly enough, or you just get them with Ignis weapons or something like that. Like there's still routes to victory there. There's lots of healing, lots of discover. So it's a thing I kind of like. I'll probably go back to Miracle Rogue at some point. But that's been enjoyable. I was doing, Miracle Rogue with Hearth, which is pretty cool. The most notable thing I had, though, on Ladder was someone played Hearth, and they got the Patron hand. And I knew right away that they got the Patron hand because they used the Inner Rage on something. And I was like, okay. I don't know if I can actually beat the Enraged Warrior hand. And then on the turn that they played Thaurissan, they played the Frothing Berserker.
Oh.
This was behind the Primus taunts, but all the same, don't do that. It reminds me of this part from The Mask of Zorro, where Anthony Hopkins' Zorro is talking to the Alejandro, who will become the next Zorro, and he looks at him and at his sword is like, "Do you know how to use that thing?" Yeah, point the end going to the other men. It's like, no, that's not really it. So, yeah, I did manage to win that one, and I should not have, because they 100% could have, if they actually plotted it out, had an insane Patron Frothing Berserker Warsong turn, and there's no way I would be able to have enough life to survive that. But it worked out, because apparently they were not playing back in those days.
Yeah, that is one thing with Hearth, is that if you don't remember that hand, you're sitting there like, what am I doing with this? Because it's not always completely obvious how the cards are supposed to work together. There's a new Trollden video, and there was a great clip of Clark getting a beautiful Patron turn off. So if you don't know how to play that, or you just want to watch a Trollden video, go check that out.
Mm-hmm. But Wicked, what have you been up to?
Well, I got baited into playing Control Priest again this weekend. And it didn't go that poorly, but I did have a 37-minute, 39-turn game that went 13 ticks into fatigue. Won that one.
Well, that's good.
As much as anyone wins a game like that. But I mean, it was good. I mean, to my credit, I'm at ranks now where the people I ran into multiple mirrors, and the people who I was playing against like understood how to play the mirror, which is something that I haven't really been accustomed to a lot when I've run into control when I've been playing control priest mirrors, because a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, Vicious Syndicate says that this counters whatever, and then they realize to their horror that they have to play a mirror later. But these all knew how to do it. But yeah, it was like there were multiple Ignis weapons. I had like the life steal gain 8 armor weapon that I just kept swinging whenever I was about to take damage that was going to bring me below my armor. And just it was like back and forth. We both got Svalna off of Amanthul. So like neither of us could play minions, because then the other one would drown it and then put it into their deck and take away a fatigue tick. It was bananas.
Oh god.
And then I had another game against a warrior, which is what the reason you're playing the deck is to counter like Druid and Warrior, and you basically lose to Warlock, but you beat everything that's trying to counter them, which doesn't work if people just give up and just play Warlock, but that's beside the point. But I had a game against a Warrior where I dirty ratted out their Astalor on turn 5, and the game continued. It was the Turbo Draw Bran version, and it's like, okay, well, I burned their Bran. I don't even remember how I did that, but I burned their Bran and I yanked out their Astalor, and they kept playing.
That's a choice.
It sure was. Like we wasted 20 minutes doing that. Like, and I'm not even sure like what I mean, their plan was effectively to blow up stuff in my deck with the Boom Boss and then play Hearth, except that I dirty ratted the Hearth also, which was a relief. So they finally gave up after that, but it was just like they had nothing left in their deck, and we could have saved ourselves 20 minutes. But people like to play it out against Priest, whatever. But the rest of the night did not go quite so well. But then I started playing Sludge Warlock again and got the ranks back, and I'm at like 900 now. I played a couple more games as like a last hurrah over lunch. I've seen nothing but rogues for like the last 3 days at around 1,000. I apparently Warlock's broken, and doesn't lose to anything, so everybody's playing rogue now. I guess I don't know what it is, but I've had a decent success against rogue. But I guess we'll see after the balance changes, because that didn't get changed, and that may be the way if everything else takes a step back except for that. But I guess we'll see. It's a little bit too soon because the balance changes happened 6 hours ago, so we don't have any sense of the meta right now.
I think people just like that deck, and so when they're bored of stuff in general, they're just like, I'm gonna go back to this because it's interesting.
I guess the Thunderbringer list might be better. I don't know, because that's what I've been seeing.
I have been seeing a lot of that.
Yep. That's my reaction. Yep.
Dislike.
We can have cheating out big stuff with Thunderbringer and tons of random BS in one deck. So it's gotten pretty popular. I have not had a ton of time to play this week. I only just hit Legend because even though I had like almost a 60% win rate this month, I just did not have a lot of opportunity to play. So finally got there. I played some Shadow Priest from Lulu in the Discord, it's basically a 1-drops, Thirsty Drifter, and then Hearth if you don't win by like turn 5. You play Hearth on 6. And then you have another opportunity to win with whatever you got off of Hearth. That was the first time that Hearth really felt good, and so that was fun to play because it's just a really fun card. But I hit a little bit of a wall with that. I went back to my Overheal Priest. I took Hearth back out of it. I went back to the same list I had before. And except for games where like I had one against a Warrior, I had these incredible turns with Heartthrob early on. Dodged all their removal because they couldn't quite get through all my health. It was great. All I needed was like a Hedonus or an Amanthul anywhere to do the last little bit. They were literally the last 2 cards in my deck. And if it had been the third to last, it wouldn't have been too late. I got all the way there. I think it was Goku from the Discord was watching me. watching this thing happen. I'm like, where's Adonis? Normally Adonis can do such good turns, but mostly I had, the kinds of big blowout turns. I got even more blown out by a astral automaton that had like 6, 7 attack astral automatons on 5. So I'm like, all right, you did the
That'll
thing,
do it.
and I don't have a Shard of the Naru in that deck, so good job. Next game. But overall, pretty fun. And then today, I'll talk more when we get to the buffs, but I got baited into Big Shaman. I'm going to blame World 8 for this one. Although, actually, I was playing a Pheno list and won my first game. And that was like, the gateway that makes you think that maybe this is going to work out okay.
That's how they get you.
That is exactly how they get you. Was that the first game, I did the thing beautifully. And I did have a couple of games where if you get from the other side out early and then you're able to just keep playing it, they will never attack you again because you have a million taunts. So there was a dragon druid that had huge dragon golem, and it didn't matter because they couldn't get through my stuff. So that was fun, but most of the rest of the time you're just not quite getting there, or it's a little too slow, or they have Shard of the Naru and that solos you. Shard of the Naru and then they copy it twice with Pip. And you're just like,
Yeah,
all right,
that's pretty good.
next game. Yeah, that was my life on ladder. Lost 1,000 ranks with Big Shaman.
You've only had it for 6 hours.
I know. I played for less than an hour. I lost 1,000 ranks.
Wow.
At least I lost quickly. The times when I lost quickly. The times when I won took a little longer.
I know those feels.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps I will skip over the Big Shaman investigations and just move right along to Demon Hunter then, because Demon Hunter got a lot of stuff.
It's possible that there was at least 1 or 2 games that I threw because I wasn't quite sure how to do things, and there might be a better list, but yeah, explore with caution.
Well, I guess this is a perfect time as any to talk about what you can explore, because we have some balance changes to talk about, so let's do that.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Okay, so we got patch 28.6.2, which is almost exclusively balance changes. There are a handful of bug fixes. There's really only one for constructed that's relevant, but it's almost all balance changes. And this is a little bit different than balance changes that we would normally expect, because there were some changes to predominantly to Sludge Warlock, which one would expect. But they ended up buffing a bunch of cards that are about to rotate that haven't seen play, or haven't seen play lately, to try to give them a little bit of juice before rotation. So the dev comment here is we have 2 goals this patch. First, we want to weaken some of the meta outliers. Second, we want to experiment with smaller buffs across several cards that are rotating out of standard soon, especially in classes that are currently weaker, to see if we can give them one last hurrah. Our hope is that players will try out and enjoy some of these strategies during these last few weeks before they go. This is an experiment, so we'll be tracking player sentiment and play data to see if this works out. And sentiment is a word that got used a lot in this particular set of balance changes. So first of all, we'll get to the nerfs. There were 3 nerfs to Sludge Warlock. Sludge on Wheels is going from 2.5 to 2.4. Waste Remover is going from 7.7 to 5.7, and Chaos Creation went from numbers that were 6s to numbers that were 5s, except for the mana cost. So it goes from 6 damage, 6 cost minion, destroy bottom 6 cards of your deck, to 5 damage, summon a random 5 cost minion, destroy the bottom 5 cards of your deck. The dev comment when talking about our first goal to curb power outliers: Warlock is the primary clear outlier across almost all ranks. The deck is strong in all phases of the game, so we're toning down its mid-game and its late-game burst to bring it into the line. Also worth noting, this is not in the dev comment, but Sludge Warlock is one of the meta decks, or probably one of the only meta decks, that loses practically nothing in rotation, possibly actually nothing. So if they didn't do something now, then they would end up having to do something at rotation when it was still this strong as a 6-set deck in a 4-set meta. So that's why it's getting hit this hard. I don't think the idea is to kill the deck, but just to bring it down to earth a little bit and not have it be like the best thing to do in a month.
And people are going to stop playing it for a bit, but I actually think it looks like it would still be pretty good, right? Like, we know 5 health on a 3-drop is bad news, right?
Yeah.
So Sludge on Wheels going down to 2/4 makes a lot of sense. I like that they didn't, just revert it back down to the 1 power.
Yeah.
Waste remover, shaving off a couple of attack. Like, all of these feel like, okay, yeah, we're just kind of slimming things down a little bit so it's a little bit less damage, but it all still works, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, particularly when a lot of other things are going to be decreased in power level from losing stuff.
The most popular list on HSR for Sludge Warlock, I just checked, literally every single card is staying in this deck list.
Yeah.
So I think especially in a 4-set meta, and probably even now, this is not killing the deck, even though they hit 3 of the most powerful cards. These are also 3 of the cards that are played in every single version of the deck because they're 3 of the biggest power outliers. So that's why it makes sense to hit these particular ones. And Waste Remover is sitting there as a 4-mana 7/7 previously, like, with basically an upside. Like, losing the bottom 3 cards of your deck was usually neutral to good. So it makes sense. And especially given the Forge of Wills interaction, hitting the stats of it is actually relevant.
Right, it's -4 attack instead of just -2.
While it still keeps that cool flavor of destroying the sludges at the bottom of your deck, maybe especially relevant with Chaos Creation, hit some, although often you didn't, you were playing Chaos Creation even when you were getting less than 6 sludges anyway. So I don't think this kills the card. It definitely does make the ceiling lower.
The minion may also be relevant, right? Because like a lot of times you would throw that out with Forge of Wills, and then you just plan to copy the 6-drop, and assuming that it wasn't Bran, like it is for me every time that I play it. But like it being a 5-drop is going to be a little bit smaller, though.
No more Sif.
No more Sif, but as Mad Arms has pointed out in multiple forums, when we get to rotation, Leroy is going to come out of that occasionally.
Oh, yeah. That'll be the Sif replacement. But
yep. So that's that. Look forward to that. But yeah, I mean, I also think that right now, with everybody trying like janky stuff with the buffs, it's probably neutral because it can just beat up on all the experiments. Because it's probably still fine, even like a lower powered, like nerfed version of the deck is probably still going to beat like Big Shaman. No offense.
Yeah, I did get beat by a Sludge Warlock, actually.
Yeah.
And you can still like monstrous form the Sludge on Wheels, right? And to get your extra ticks that way and stuff. Just seemed like solid changes to me. And the next one, I admit I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Aleko posted a tweet that I had earlier in the week that I had to ask the Discord to translate from anime to English, because he posted a screenshot from Attack on Titan along with Shattered Reflections, and me not knowing anime didn't know what it said. So Shattered Reflections can no longer target Titans. That is the only change to it. The dev comment being Ramp Style Druid is not a power outlier at most levels of play, but is becoming a prevalent power and sentiment outlier at high legend ranks. Titans were designed to be unique cards with powerful effects that you can activate maybe a few times per game, not 10 times. We still want the Titans to be these cool, standout, powerful cards, so we're removing them from the pool of cards that Shadow Reflections could target. And in general, the way that this was being abused was with ENR. ENR would refresh the mana crystals. You would Shadow Reflections the ENR, heal yourself up to full, or draw until your hand was full, whichever you prefer. And then you would also have another ENR in the deck that you could draw to do that all over again. So this is going to remove that. This is much more of a nerf to Druid than Priest, unlike the last ones, because Priest is, unless Priest is going to be targeting an opposing Titan, it's not really going to be as relevant for Priest. But for Druid, it's basically just, it may as well just say can't target ENR, but this is a more equitable way to say that.
Yeah, which good riddance. That was just deeply obnoxious.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that you can still potentially have some shenanigans targeting other things, but it's not so easy to just make 10 ENRs in a game, never stop doing it. You at least have to try a little bit harder to do that. And the endless refreshes, even when you could beat them because they don't attack right away, it was still just extremely obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like, they should also have to choose between a refresh and healing their hero to full as an aggro deck who's gotten them to 2. Like, pick one.
Yeah. And I saw some comments like, "Oh, well, they'll just switch to cover artist." No, they won't, because first of all, they could have done that for 6 months before that, and they didn't. And also, the real reason the Shadow Reflections is in the deck is to copy Beetle, so that you can get an OTK, which cover artist doesn't work with Solar Eclipse, and B, it doesn't make it a 10 attack minion. It makes it a 3/3. So neither of those things are relevant. So they're not running Shadow Reflection just for ENR. That's an emergency button. They really want to use it to copy the Beetle, but if you can get an extra ENR and you have the means, you may as well, right? So
right.
So yeah, I'm not so worried about that.
Makes sense to me not to kill the Beetle interaction necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that card is there for. And that feels less egregious when you see it, even if it's the plan A, not the plan B.
Yeah. So also in the High Legend Sentiment Outlier category, we have Blind Eye Sharpshooter, which is going from a 3-mana 1/3 to a 4-mana 3/3. Dev comment: Demon Hunter has had its ups and downs. Now it's in an interesting spot where it isn't seeing much play or success at most levels of play, but is a consistent sentiment outlier for High Legend players. Specifically, we've gotten a lot of feedback that players don't like that this one card can generate that much damage that early in the game. We're slowing the card down by a turn to make that burst damage slower and clunkier, and buffing other Demon Hunter archetypes in this patch for fans of the class throughout the ladder. So, I mean, This is something, if you're not a top 200 legend, you probably never see it. I've been playing it around 1,000 for a while. I've seen it like once.
I think, it does show up, right? It's chance what you're going to face. I'll see one every now and again. But some people, it just really gets to them. Yep. This kind of thing, because you really don't have a lot of agency, and clearly the players that were seeing it a lot, many of them are in the creator Discord, so they they got a lot of direct feedback that this had to go, and I think it's still possible for it to be played at 4 mana. I will be significantly slower and therefore worse. So I guess we'll just have to see. But I'm excited for all the buffs that Demon Hunter got, because Demon Hunter has been having, as a class, a really rough go of it recently.
It feels a little bit like putting Bioluminescence to 4. It seemed like it was completely dead, and then it kind of wasn't completely dead, but it is definitely harder and slower. So we'll have to see whether this is just too slow now or not. But yes, we should probably get to the buffs that they gave to it.
Yeah, unless you are also a top 200 legend, this will probably not affect your play experience significantly, because you're probably not seeing it that often. It's also worth mentioning, like, when you're playing in top 200, there's just a smaller pool of players for you to queue into. So if one person's jamming Naga DH over and over again, you're going to queue into them more, and you're going to see them more. I'm not saying it's just one person, but like, if there's a few people, you're going to queue into all those people more often than you would if you're playing at lower ranks and there's a wider pool for the matchmaking algorithm to find for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did get changes to buffs to a bunch of underplayed cards. So I will have to read these cards out, because for most of them, you probably have not seen them in a year and a half. These are all cards that are rotating out. And from what I understand, it is not necessarily guaranteed that these will be the permanent forms of these cards. They may revert back at rotation, but they're just being buffed for the duration of this patch.
Wait, I have a proposal.
Yeah.
You read the card name, I will say what it used to do, and you can say what it does now.
Okay. So, Blight Blood Berserker. First of all, don't name it that. Like that's just hurting my mouth. Like, stop that.
I think it's very intentional. So
Yes.
it was an 8 mana 3/8 undead taunt reborn with lifesteal and death rattle. Deal 3 damage to a random enemy.
Yeah. And now it's down to 7 mana. So, enjoy that. From the other side is a 9 mana shadow spell. Summon a copy of each minion in your hand. They attack random enemy minions, then die.
You missed throwing it to me. But yeah, I mean, that one I think most of us knew because it was memed on. But
Yeah.
Used to be 10 mana. Now 9
That was
mana.
10 mana. Okay, so Harkener of Dread.
So this was a 5 mana 2/2 taunt death rattle. Summon a 6/6, and I think they're both undead.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so now it is 5 mana. The undead that's summoned is 4/4 instead of 6/6, but the front half has reborn. Yeah, so now you'll get 2 4/4s and the 2/2 instead of just 1 6/6.
It's 4 taunts in a card now. And if you get it off of from the other side, then you get at the end of it a 4/4 with taunt and a 2/1 with taunt that will summon another 4/4 with taunt. So that card felt good. The deck
Sure.
felt not quite there, but that card did feel good. Even if you had to just play it for 5 mana, obviously you'd rather cheat it out, but just playing it to survive to get to your from the other side, that's a lot of taunts. That Dragon Druid was not getting anywhere.
Yet another buff to Chaos Creation.
Yeah, that'd be a good hit. Yep.
So we also had Scourge Tamer.
So a 2 mana 2/2 battle cry, discover, or create a zombieast, right?
Yes.
So
Craft a custom Zombieast.
you do
Yes.
the 2 discovers to.
Yes. And now it is a 1 mana 1/2. It's a hunter card, by the way. I guess we should say.
Yeah.
Which I saw some people saying this was the nuts. I think if your definition
Sure.
of the nuts is paying 1 mana to get a card of questionable value that you may or may not have time to play later, then enjoy that. But I don't know if I would call that the nuts, but we could agree to disagree on that.
It feels like a card out of a different time, including power level. I will say one more thing on the Shaman, which is Blight Blood Berserker also feels really good now. Like, the buffed cards feel great.
Mm.
Once you get the Berserkers down, also, like, they heal you 12 because they hit into it, you heal 3 from their
Right.
attack. It dies, it does 3 damage, it's still lifesteal. It does it again.
Yeah.
And the same thing when you get it off from the other side. So that card also feels great. It's just getting there. It's just getting there. That's the problem.
Yeah, if you can live to 9, yes, then everything else feels great. Yes.
Well, you got to use the weapon to discount. Right?
Yeah, that's what Jazz Base is for. Although the overload stuff, as usual with Shaman, feels a little awkward. It's really hard to get your curve nice. But yes, you can often get it down earlier than 9.
So, Coilscar Commander et al.
So I believe a 6 mana 2/6 Naga with taunt that says battle cry. If you cast 3 spells while holding this, summon 2 copies of this.
Yes. Yeah.
Well done.
It is now going up to a 3/7.
And it is Demon
So-
Hunter.
Demon Hunter card. Yeah.
That's big.
Yep. It's I mean there are several buffs to spell Demon Hunter in this patch. So also Demon Hunter is deal with the devil.
Yeah, that was the 5 mana summon 2 3/3 demons with lifesteal, and it summoned 1 more if your deck was only spells.
Yeah, and now it will summon 2 more if your deck has no minions. So that card was kind of annoying, and when Scythe DH was first a thing, I guess this will be slightly more annoying. We've got plenty of ways to deal 3 damage to a board, like just collapse from excavate happens a lot. So
Yeah, it was more useful in terms of like if there were aggro decks around that wouldn't necessarily have AoEs, just kind of better into those than really to pressure controlling things. I mean, you kind of trade one for one, right? Board in a box and force them to AoE.
But it's the tempo decks that are running the excavates, so
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But also Topple the Idol, which is also Demon Hunter.
So top of the idol was a 5 mana dredge, deal damage to all minions equal to the cost of the card dredged.
Yeah. And now it is going down to 4 mana, which is a little bit more reasonable for a board clear. I guess also in a big Demon Hunter, that might be something you would think about, right? That could be a reasonable card if you're trying to get the Naga. That's a little bit late to get the Naga, but if you wanted to get the Naga and then or even the All Fell Breaks Loose. I mean, if you just need to do 5 to the board and get that in hand so you can start pumping it up, that's not terrible. But
that is what I'm seeing, like World 8 posting with this new stuff is Big Demon Hunter. And the Coil Scar Commander can go with that because you already have a Fell Scale Evoker Naga. You're trying to play spells while you have it in your hand, so you might as well have another one with some taunts to help you survive while you're going.
Yeah.
And it doesn't interfere with your demon synergy.
Right, yeah. It's just a Naga, it's not a demon. So Mark of Scorn, still for Demon Hunter.
Yeah, so this is one of the ones that saw more play than a lot of things. 2 mana, draw a card. If it's a spell, deal 3 damage to the lowest health enemy.
Not a minion. That's actually important. Because if it hits a weapon or a hero card or whatever, I don't know, we don't have a hero card, but if it hits a weapon, it still goes off. As long as it's not a minion.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And now that's going up to 4 damage, the lowest health enemy. So also we got some changes to Mage. So Trench Surveyor.
So this was the Mech Mage card, 2 mana, 3/2 dredge. If it's a mech, draw it.
Yeah, so now that's going to 1 mana, 2/1, which is decent. I mean, we're kind of outclassed on Mech Mage in general at this point, but being able to start from the beginning is and have a decent one drop.
Free and wild.
Yeah. So we also had a buff to Energy Shaper.
So I don't understand why they keep doing this with Energy Shaper. Whatever. Energy Shaper, 3 mana, 3/4, transform spells in your hand into ones that cost 2 more. They keep the same cost.
Yep, and now there's 3 more. So, sure. Enjoy. Maybe that makes it good. I don't know. But I'm glad if it's not. Like, we all lived through Deck of Lunacy. We don't need to do that again. So...
Well, I guess people who missed it need to do it now.
Yeah, we don't need Hand of Lunacy. It's fine. We don't need that. And then Sunken Sweeper, which is the card comes out of the death rattle of a Jaran Sweeper.
Right. So the Jaran Sweeper, put it on the bottom of your deck. If you dredge it up, 3 mana, 3/4 mech that would give you 3 random mechs. They could be, since it's random from any class.
Yeah, and now they cost 1 less. Which is, if you're going through the effort, that's not, that's something.
Yeah.
It's not bad. And then we get to the Thief Priest cards.
These ones paid my soul.
This is not as bad as it could have been, but yeah.
Okay. Well,
I wanted them to buff Mind Eater.
I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
That one did not.
We'll talk about that after Incriminating Psychic.
Time. Yeah.
I know, and it could see more play. So Mysterious Visitor.
So this is the reason to do it, right? The 2 mana, 2/3 that you reduce the cost of cards copied from your opponent by 2,
and now it's by 3. So, and then Incriminating Psychic, aka Psychic Detective, coming through.
Yeah. So this is the 4 mana, 2/6 taunt that would copy 1 random card from the opponent's hand. It now copies 2. Well. Yeah, sorry.
So that's why I wanted them to do that to Mind Eater, because then you can animate Dead It, and then you could really get value out of the Mysterious Visitor.
This is fine. It's too much already. That is twice as many cards copied, and from hand. The cards in my hand are the ones I mulliganed for. They're the good ones.
The thing is, though, that the reason that Thief Rogue is so much better than Thief Priest is because they can shadow step all their nonsense. And so I think that it's only fair to be able to animate Dead the nonsense. And you can't animate Dead before drop.
It doesn't matter. it's giving you twice as many, and you still have identity theft and the other thing, and you could still do secret agent coming through, right? Like
You're not going to do. I don't think you're going to do that because you have to put too many dragons in the deck to make that happen. And a lot of these decks are running Renathal, and then like good luck getting all those to happen.
Incriminating Psychic is a dragon.
That's the only dragon that you want to play, though. Like it's that's it.
Okay.
So then you'd have to find other dragons to put in, which is not what you want to be doing with your life.
Regardless, just Incriminating Psychic, Mind Eater, and Identity Theft, and ways you can get extras of all of those is
well, plus the 1-drop too. The 1/2
also,
Psychic Conjurer.
Psychic Conjurer. It's I'm displeased.
If it's ever gonna be good though, Franken meta or almost Franken meta before rotation, people want to play random nonsense. This is when to do it. This, and I played it a little bit right when Nathria came out.
Yeah, I've gotten baited into it several times. I will likely get baited into it again this weekend.
I mean,
because I was watching before the stream started. I was watching No Hands Gamer, who was playing Renathal Thief Priest against a Plague DK who had played Hearth into the Deathstalker Rexar hand. So that game just went forever because there was no reason for the Deathstalker Rexar player to concede. So they just kept going, though it turned out that No Hands had gotten Svalna at one point and was just able to start generating cards to burn the plays because his hand didn't matter at that point. I could see Edel just like crumbling into dust as I'm talking. Which means I should probably stop and we should probably move on before Edel actually reaches through the computer monitor and throttles me. And to be clear, completely justified if that were to happen. Anyway. Speaking of stealing things, Pirate Admiral Hooktusk.
So formerly 8 mana, 8/8 pirate. If you have summoned 8 pirates this game, you get to plunder your opponent, which either means you take 2 cards from their hand, 5 cards from their deck, or their highest cost minion in play.
Yeah, and now it is all the 8s are going to 7s. So 7 mana, 7/7, summon 7 other pirates.
I actually really want to do this. This is the way I would like to steal.
I hope that you get to pull that off against a Thief Priest, and then you're stuck with all the Thief Priest cards.
Except that means their deck is gone. So as long as I get their Harvester of Envy, I kind of don't care what else I hit.
And the last one is Demolition Renovator.
Oh yeah, so this was a 4 mana 4/4 tradable. Destroy an enemy location.
Yeah, they had to buff it to give it tradable originally. It didn't even start with tradable the first time.
Yeah.
This is the second time they buffed it. And now it's going to a 3 mana 3/3, which is
reasonable. But
reasonable. I don't know. Like you need to really hate a location or really just hate people playing Prison of Yogg-Saron.
That's the one. Probably not worth it because I think the answer to Prison is just hope that it goes wrong for them.
Or play Reno.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, post-rotation Twisting Nether is going to get rid of them, so that'll be good.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. I'm very pleased about this turn of events. Yeah.
Yes. So that is all of the standard changes. You have 2 weeks to go get refunds for the cards that have been nerfed. If, as usual, if you are asking, should I dust these? Yes, you should. Go dust them. If they are still not seeing play, then you keep the dust. Just don't spend the dust right away, because if you need to craft them again, you can just recraft them again for the same price. No harm, no foul. If you wait and you forget, then you will miss out on that. And then if it turns out that they're not being played, you'll lose out on the dust. So go dust them. Just keep the dust. Don't spend it. And then use that to recraft them if you need them. Or I probably wouldn't even bother dusting the Sludge Warlock cards. I think those are probably going to be fine, but you could still do that just to be on the safe side. And they're rares and commons anyway, so it's really just the goldens that are going to give you any significant dust out of that. But neither here nor there. There are a bunch of Battlegrounds updates. We're not going to go through all of them in detail, but just a couple of the highlights. Landlubber just cannot stay in one place, and now is back up to tier 4. Moonbacon Jazzer, which is the Quillbore with the Battlecry that gives blood gems plus 1 health, is going from tier 2 to tier 3. If I can get a first place with Quillbore, it's probably broken and needs to be nerfed, so that seems fair. There are also several elementals that were shifted down a tier, probably to compensate for Landlubber going up, because Landlubber is both a pirate and elemental. So the Wind Fury Divine Shield elemental, and then the one I believe that gives you an elemental, Battlecry give you another elemental. I think both went down a level. And Zap Slywick got swole. Zap has gone from, and I need to scroll down to find this. Zap has gone from an 816 to an 1122.
Wow.
and the golden one is 2244. That's the one with Wind Fury and always attacks an enemy minion with the lowest attacks. So he's been hitting the gym, and so just keep an eye out for that. There were a number of other spells. I think Fluidity got pulled out for a little bit. They put it back with some adjustments. You can go, there's a lot of changes. You can go and read the patch notes for the details if you are a Battlegrounds player and you're interested in that. There are also a bunch of bug fixes. The one constructed bug fix is that the Hearth Druid hand gave you a copy of Malfurion the Pestilent. That Malfurion the Pestilent did not give you armor, and now it does. So even though it said the armor on the card, it didn't actually give it to you, and now it is giving it to you. So that is the one bug fix of import from that will affect constructed. So that was the patch. And before that, then we also had 3 cards that were revealed. And normally we would talk about these in Decksplanations, but today we're talking about Core Set and Decksplanations, and also there were only 3 of them. So we're going to cover them now. But these are, again, as Edel said earlier, these are 3 big ones. They're all legendaries, and one of them is adorable. One of them is very clever, but one of them is also adorable. So the first one that we have is a mage legendary, which is Puzzlemaster Khadgar. A 6-mana 5/5 with a battle cry. Equip a 0/6 wisdom ball that casts helpful mage spells. And so the magic wisdom ball is a 3-mana weapon, but you're never going to play it from hand, so it doesn't matter. 0/6, and it says at the end of your turn, cast a helpful mage spell and lose 1 durability. So for 6 turns, it's going to play a helpful mage spell. It knows some things about like the state of the board, how much health you have, how much health your opponent has, and the spells are all, I believe, legacy set mage spells.
Yeah, we have the full list. So it's Polymorph, Arcane Missiles, Mirror Image, Frostbolt, Arcane Intellect, Fireball, Counterspell, Ice Barrier, Blizzard, and Flame Strike.
Okay.
Basically, you can't force it to do anything in particular that you want it to do. They've made it so that there is never a situation where it will always cast a certain spell. It just tries to eliminate the low rolls, basically, and then does randomly with what's left.
So like, you could be under pressure by an aggro deck, and it's like, well, the best things here are Blizzard, Flame Strike, or Ice Barrier, because you're at low health and they have a big board. Well, perhaps what you really need that turn is the Blizzard or the Flame Strike, but you end up getting the Ice Barrier, and maybe that's not good enough.
Or Mirror Image, it would probably throw in that pool too, right?
Maybe?
Not Mirror Entity, Mirror Image, the 0/2s.
0/2 toss. Yeah.
We'll have to see how it feels when we actually play with it, but I think if you're thinking of it like Zephyrus, you're going to be disappointed, right? You have to think of it as a prison that goes wrong less often. Right? It's less likely to completely high roll. It's only 1 card, but it is also much less likely to do something bad to you, and it has a 0% chance of tome tampering you.
Yeah, well, and even the things that deal damage are only ever going to hit the opponent's side of the field, right? So it's not like you're ever going to Frostbolt your own face or Fireball your own face.
Oh, does it only target enemies?
Yeah. So it's never going to, like, directly kill you, but it's might not save you. But if you are able to play it on 6 in a situation where you don't desperately need that Blizzard or Flame Strike right away, you could get some serious value out of this thing. Like, I imagine, say just empty board, you drop this on 6, it's going to be looking at like, well, I could play a counterspell here. I could play, this, that, or the other thing. Like, just getting a counterspell at a state where not much is going on is pretty awesome. And then basically depending on what your opponent's does, always having a chance of it just gets answered is nice.
Yeah, and unlike Prison, it goes off every turn, not every other turn. So, it's not 4 spells, it's only 1, but it's just a lot more reliable.
Yeah.
And you do get a 5/5 body out of it.
Right.
As well. That you are not going to randomly kill.
It's going to go off at the end of the turn, though, so like you're not going to be able to see what it's going to do and then react to it, right? Like it's always going to go off at the end of the turn. So that's something that is, it's a little bit worse than Prison that way, because Prison you can fire off first, see what it decides to do, and then react to it based on the new board state. Here you're going to have to set up a board state and then hope that it does whatever you want it to do to help that, but you're not going to be able to react to it after that. But I mean that's like that's not that big of a deal, but it's just worth mentioning if we're comparing it to Prison of Yogg-Saron.
Yeah. Well, and that could be a big, you can't see whether it's going to do a Blizzard or a Flame Strike to clear their board. You have to say, do I need to hope that it clears their board? Or can I play it safer and clear their board myself and then I don't have to worry about it? So there's definitely more decision making there.
Yeah. So we also got the first Death Knight hero card, and I don't know about how I feel about the actual card itself, but the flavor and the wording on it is like I said in the creator Discord that like whoever did that like brightened up my day when I desperately needed it when I saw that. And apparently that it takes a village to make a card like this. Like you don't get rhymes like this just by one person writing them. Like that took a collaborative effort. But this is the Headless Horseman, is a 6 mana Blood and Unholy hero. With Battle Cry, destroy the enemy minion with the most attack. Shuffle my head into your deck. You must get it back. And even Soddle, who doesn't like changing wording for flavor reasons, was complimentary of this. So that tells you how good that is. So the initial hero power that you get is 2 mana. It is Pulsing Pumpkins. Deal 3 damage with Crushing Brawn. My army shall be yours if my head is drawn. And then when you draw the head, it's called Horseman's Head. It's 2 mana. When drawn, this casts, and your enemy will cower. Imbue the souls of undead into your hero power. Like, just like, come on, chef's kiss, right?
Yeah.
So then that'll transform your hero power into a different. I wish they had a different name for the other hero power.
That's like, if there's one complaint, I also think it's that the art's different.
But Pulsing Pumpkins then becomes deal 3 damage with Crushing Brawn, discover an undead to serve as your pawn. So I have no idea if this is any good.
It's good.
I mean, getting a 3 damage hero power is pretty good just in and of itself.
So,
pretty bonkers.
Which we'll talk about this with the core stuff, where we are entering a new era of Death Knight, which is a bit less reliant on triple rune builds. So, I mean, what I have to say about this is Blood Decay is dead. Long live Blood Decay. But it will be it'll be 2 blood, 1 unholy.
Yeah.
Because you can run Soul Stealer with just 2 blood runes now. Corpse Explosion has always been just 2 blood runes. Getting, an Asphyxiate plus 5 armor and a deal 3 damage hero power. I think you're probably gonna want to build around getting that hero power upgraded as quickly as possible. There's the 3 mana 3/3 beast, draw a card that didn't start in your deck. Right?
Oh gosh,
and so you can do that
exists.
To pull the Horseman's Head. And it might be worth it because now that Soul Stealer is only 2 blood runes, you can discover it. And depending on just how many undead there are post-rotation, you might discover it with some frequency.
Oof, and you still have enough mana to play it after that
Once
very
you're at 10,
turn.
yeah.
Once you're at 10, yes.
I mean, I would like to think you're at 10 by the time you draw the head, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're playing this on 6. I would like to think it's going to take you... I mean, it's always going to shuffle it to the top of your deck if you're playing against it. It's always going to shuffle it to the bottom of the deck when you're playing with it. That's just science. But But even so, I'd like to think that it's going to take a little bit longer to get there on average. But
This feels like a really flexible hero because on the one hand, you can get all this value, right? And it has the control as tool in a sense with the battle cry of the asphyxiate, but also you can just use this to like finish things off. And this means that you don't need Mograine because you're doing 3 damage a turn now. You don't necessarily need to be triple blood to have Mograine. Obviously, you can't have both this and Mograine, which is probably a good thing. So
yeah, I mean, it can go in rainbow as well, right? Which I suspect will be still pretty solid post rotation, and the fact that it gets a hero card where it does not have to be Highlander is gonna be pretty nice. I like that they made a Death Knight hero card so that there's less of this like, well, do we do Reno, for something controlling, and yeah, particularly with some of the core changes, being able to discover an undead could be extremely powerful.
Yeah. And also, point of order, it's a good thing that you don't need Mograine because he's leaving standard.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it's only vampiric blood is the reason to play triple blood.
Which is a reason, but maybe not good enough for a reason.
Or you could do this and just kill them instead of needing all that extra health.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about winning, it's about sending a message.
Well, but you've got Maw and Paw as a way of increasing your max health, and you can discover more of them with this hero power.
Oh my gosh, you get more Maw and Paw.
Primus, right?
Yeah.
So it's not as though there are no ways of increasing your max health anymore.
Yeah. Thankfully, you can't shatter Reflections the Primus and get more health that way. So
that is true.
That you've gotten somehow, Yeah. Shenanigans always happen.
Well, but that is not the most important card that was revealed this week. The most important card that was revealed is King Plush.
Whoa. You're really talking up a hunter card?
I'm talking up an adorable plush dinosaur. I mean, I'm gonna enjoy it when I get it from Amenthul. So,
but what about when it just murders you through all your taunts?
It won't. Don't worry, it'll be fine. But King Plush is a hunter legendary 9-mana 6/6 with charge. Battle cry: return all minions with less attack than this to their owner's deck. So an owner in this context is whichever side of the board they're on.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if something's been stolen. Because I asked the question because I'm a terrible person. What happens if I've played Shadow Word Steel on a minion and then played it? It still goes back, and it doesn't matter. It just goes back into the deck of the person who controls it. So it's not quite Psychic Scream, which is, I've seen that comparison made a couple times today. Because you can't do reliably turn off Reno effects with this. Because not everything is going into the opponent's deck. It's only the things on their side of the board that are going back. But what it does mean is you don't have to worry about taunts getting in the way of this, because it is always going to go face, but it is smaller than the original King Crush. If you're doing things like trying to summon it out with big beast things, which are big beast things are all pretty much rotating, but we might get new summon a beast things. Mm-hmm. Presumably Hunter gets those fairly regularly.
I think what you're supposed to do is buff the attack of this with all the attack buff.
Yeah, with the buzzards.
Stuff like maybe that. I mean, that's one way, right? If you're talking about just its own damage, but it bounces stuff on your side of the field as well, or not bounces, but returns it to your deck. So, I mean, the ideal situation is if you have a couple of things that are bigger than this, and so you can, return lower attack taunts on your opponent's side of the field to their deck and not bounce your own stuff that then gets to hit them in the face.
You could also play, what is it, Son of Hodir, that makes the next, or Hodir Father Giants, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That makes the next 3 minions that you draw 8/8s. You could do that if you really want to. You could always play, play bananas or whatever on it afterwards. I mean, you're not going to have that much mana, but you could. There's things you can do with it, but but he's adorable. Like he's it's
so cute.
He's just a good boy.
Certainly hoping that we get King Plushes of some variety I don't care how big.
Yeah.
It can be little.
Like put them in the gear store. You will print money. Like I promise you. Just like would I love it in a creator box? Absolutely. Put it in the gear store. Let people buy them. They will buy them. I promise you. You will make money off this.
This is the kind of thing that we needed at BlizzCon. Obviously, they couldn't do this exact card, but they could still do it this year at BlizzCon.
Yes. Like make them in all kinds of colors like the reveal video. Just make them like Yoshi's and just like they do this with Murlocs. Just, they sell the plush Murlocs. I've got 2 of them sitting behind me, right? Like just sell them. You will make money, I promise. This is how we fund the next big mode, Just sell King plushes.
Or this is how we fund crazy Hearthstone 10-year anniversary stuff at BlizzCon. I really hope that Hearthstone gets like a special place for BlizzCon this year because it's the 10-year anniversary. I don't want to like set up expectations, but it would be nice.
You know what? I think I solved it. This is how we get esports back. You make a King plush, right? You make a little King plush, like a little 5-inch. You sell it for $45, and all the proceeds go into the esports pool. That's it. We solved it. We saved esports. We did it.
Yep.
Developers who are listening, take notes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, so that's all the news that we have, but we had a lot of news last week around the core set, and we have a lot of stuff that's rotating into standard that we need to talk about. So we are going to go talk about those things and decide what we have in store for us as we are revealing the rest of the cards over the next couple weeks.
All right. So we wanted to talk about the changes to the core set and also in a broader sense, what is coming into standard, what is leaving standard. Obviously, we don't know all of the new cards that are going to come from the set yet, but we can think about what packages in general are staying, what packages are leaving, how might this shift things. And I was thinking we could actually start with, do we want to start with neutral first, or do we want to start with Death Knight since we were just talking about Death Knight?
We should probably start with the neutrals just to set a foundation. Before we get into that, I'll give another plug for, like I did last week, for if you are looking for this and you want to follow along. I have this on the stream, but also if you are trying to follow along at home, offcurve.com/Pegasus has all of the changes highlighted. There's a tab that we'll be focusing on, the second tab, which is what's leaving standard, but there's also a tab that talks about what's changing into core. I've also gone through and given all of these cards on the site a rating of low, medium, or high impact. Impact being something that's either a meta deck defining card or something that's in basically every deck for that class. Medium being a non-meta defining card or something that's often a regular inclusion, and then low being basically everything else. So that's something you can look at, and it's all color coded to kind of see what the impact is at a glance. Anyway, so yeah, we should start with the neutrals. I think that is a good place to start.
So we won't read off every single thing that's leaving or staying.
I mean, like, I could do it real quick and then we can just actually talk about the highlights, right?
Okay.
So, neutrals leaving. Alex Strauss of the Lifebinder, Karen Bloodhoof, Dr. Boom, The Black Knight, Ysera the Dreamer, Ziliax, Azure Drake, Eater of Secrets, Humongous Razorleaf, Chillwind Yeti, Emerald Sky Talon, Explosive Sheep, Grim Necromancer, Rotten Applebaum, and Tour Guide. If you don't know what some of those do, it probably doesn't matter.
Well, that's just out of core, though, but also what we're losing out of standard entirely, like most of the Nagas. We're losing a fair number of mechs. We're losing a lot of undead. So, like, Thaddeus, Foul Leg, Nerubian Vizier, Molocula, some that are pretty popular. We lose Renathal, we lose Astalor. Thank goodness on both of those. We lose Okani, and then there's a couple of utility things like Sketchy Stranger, Hawkstrider Rancher, Tour Guide is leaving core, Silver Moon Arcanist, and Sir Finley. Those are all ones that are pretty significant that are leaving. Leaving standard just by rotation, in addition to the ones that are rotating out of core.
Yeah, I mean, Thaddeus, they already kind of nerfed out of existence, but, pretty happy to see several of these going. Astalor and Renethal, you mentioned as being top ones. Ones that I'll miss will be Spinley, because really great for if you need to find the thing and it wasn't in the top half of your deck, you just play Finley and it's in the other half, ideally. And then, losing like School Teacher and Vizier, I feel like we've had enough of those discovers.
Yeah. And Amalgam in the Deep, too. That's another one.
That's a huge one for any sort of minion type deck. Also, Queen Ajara.
Yep.
Which hadn't been used as much as, say, Astalor, but definitely a card that saw a lot of play. Again, she's a Naga, basically. Almost all of the Naga, except for they added a few new Naga in this past set.
Right.
Are rotating out.
Yeah. Oh, and Armstealer also is a pretty significant undead that's leaving.
Yeah.
Smothering Starfish is out.
Oh, yeah.
So although they kept, we'll get to it later, but as a triple rune card for Unholy, they kept Grave Strength. Losing Hawkstrider Rancher and Arms Dealer are big hits for an Unholy DK.
Yeah.
I mean, Unholy Decay presumably will start to look a little different than it does right now, but it's it's a big change. And there are going to be some things that you've just relied on, just like these utility minions that have been there for, like Nerubian Vizier has been around. It hasn't been seeing a lot of play lately, but it was pretty prevalent for a lot of this year. Same thing with School Teacher, still played now. So yeah, those will be things that'll be rotating out that you're just not going to be able to rely on, and you won't be seeing them as much.
School Teacher was one of my favorite cards that we've ever had. Just really flexible, really fun, awesome flavor. But we have seen a lot of it. So part of me was a little bit disappointed that they didn't put it into core, but maybe they'll bring it into core later because it saw so much play for 2 years and it was in the first set of its standard year. So it does make sense to move into something else. And it's very annoying when Warriors play it with Bran. So I won't miss seeing that.
Yeah. And a couple other ones that are not quite as prevalent now, but have been in the past or have been played occasionally. Theatar also going out. That's also important.
Thank goodness.
And Steam Cleaner's also going away, which is relevant for playing against Plague Death Knights. I mean, not that it's really that great against Plague Death Knight, but you're not even going to have the option now. Yeah.
Like now, basically, the response is have enough generation that you can just not worry about your deck and just burn off the top.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about Plague DK going into this next year, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like it's also not losing a whole lot. And I mean, I guess that just kind of brings us over to Death Knight. So we should probably just start talking about Death Knight, right? Because
we should say what's coming into core and the neutrals real briefly.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, there's a few things that are going straight to core. So Vicious Slither Spear is an exception to the Nagas leaving. That is going straight into core, which I am excited about because any deck with a Vicious Slither Spear is a deck I want to play. Even though, yes, I'm aware that Naga Priest will not be a thing. There's also Leroy Jenkins was mentioned earlier. So Leroy Jenkins will be in core. We have Justicar True Heart, who was reworked. So she is now a 5-mana, 6/4 legendary battlecry. Replace your starting hero power with a better one. That only works for base hero powers. Except for, So you're not going to get like an even more busted Reno hero power or something like that.
Or Headless Horseman is another one now that would be terrifying.
I mean, it never works that way, but
yeah,
I'm glad that it's not like, if you played Reno and then you want to play Justicar for the body, that you're going to go back to armor up or to tank up. So
it's also just worth saying that because most people have not been playing this game for a million years and don't remember when we used to play Justicar. And I remember, there was one esports tournament where Frozen was playing like the minion that steals the opponent's hero power to get the tank up hero power from them. So they could also be tanking up in fatigue. So yeah, that'll be something we'll all get to experience again.
And I do like that they buffed her to make her a little bit more relevant. We got Mind Control Tech got a big change. So Mind Control Tech, 5 mana, 3/3. Battle Cry. If your opponent has 4 or more minions, take control of one. You may notice this is no longer at random. You can pick which minion you would like control over.
Pretty gross.
Yes, but it's also 5 mana
Instead of 3.
So
yeah,
which is also a big difference. Like,
so they removed the tilt from randomness, but now it's just going to be tilt from, if this is if there is or go wide metas, then this will be kind of scary. I also want to note that old Alexstrasza is coming back and old Ysera. And actually they buffed old Ysera.
Yeah. Well, they unnerfed all the dream cards. So when they put in new Ysera, they nerfed all the dream cards. So like Ysera Awakens was 3 mana, deal 5 damage to minions, and it's going back to 2 damage, deal 5 damage to all characters. Right. Except Ysera.
But Ysera also gives you 2 dreams now.
Yes, she does.
At the end of every turn.
Yeah. So that's a little spooky. But also, Alexstrasza. I think they are pushing Handlock super hard because we're also getting Molten Giant and Mountain Giant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be spooky. They're gonna be like, oh, they've got 2 giants, and Alex, you're dead.
And Tiamat's also coming back, and it's going to be buffed to, I think it was 7 mana 7/7, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And I saw a bunch of people saying, well, nobody's going to play that. Like, this was in every Highlander deck ever when Highlander decks were in Standard. Every single one. And especially with Bran in Warrior, when you can get all 4 effects, like, I would not be surprised to see this played in Highlander decks. Outside of that, probably not. But in Highlander deck specifically, this was just like a generic value legendary that you could throw in a deck, and it was 1 card that was basically played like Astalor is now. And I would not be surprised to see it go back to that.
Yeah. We also have old Sylvanas. So the Death Rattle, take control of a random enemy minion. 6 mana, 5/5. She's now an undead, as makes sense. So they're really pushing a lot of nostalgia factor in these cards, but trying to make them relevant so we won't have a situation, hopefully, where we had Dr. Boom, original Dr. Boom, in Standard this whole time, if you didn't realize. He is now leaving. But they also put in a few cards that tie into Warcraft Rumble that are entirely new. So we have Nomelia, Safe Pilot, SAFE. 6 mana 4/2 legendary rush also damages minions next to whomever this attacks. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to all enemies. So that's a 4 attack cleave and followed up by 2 damage board clear for 6 mana. We have Footman, 4 mana 2/5 rare taunt. Adjacent minions are immune while attacking. We have Warsong Grunt, 5 mana 3/6 rush. After this attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. And finally, Night Elf Huntress, 5 mana 3/3 battle cry, deal 3 damage to 3 different enemies. You pick the targets.
These terrify me. And I'll tell you why. Druid now has a wealth of neutral clears to have access to. Because after this patch happens where core is going to be changed, the Druid gift is going to be giving you an unnerfed version of Wild Growth. They will effectively still have Wild Growth for 3 mana, right? Because they can play the gift and get the Wild Growth. And then jumping from 3 to 5 is right in time to play Night Elf Huntress. And I believe Night Elf Huntress, you pick the 3 things. So you could do 2 minions and 3 damage face. You could do 3 minions. Just whatever ones are scariest, right? So Night Elf Huntress is very good. Warsong Grunt, I see as more for like a hand buff deck. But if you're a Highlander Druid, then, maybe you do Night Elf Huntress and Warsong Grunt and Nomelia, because Nomelia of all of these is an absurd clear that I think is going to be in quite a few controlling decks, because you clear 3 6 health minions and then do 2 damage to everything else. Like, it's...
Including face. Just
Yeah.
as an extra little thing. It's only 2 damage, but hey, you also get to do 2 face.
Yeah, sure. As a treat, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, she's perhaps too good in Rumble, so I suppose only fitting that she'd be quite,
Not anymore, they
quite
nerfed
good
her.
here.
So
Oh, great. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a little spooked by the implications of good neutral clears. I suppose we'll have to see what it is they're going to be trying to clear in terms of the aggro decks that will be facing up against them. But yeah, these make me a tad nervous.
Yeah. As the person who plays things that are going to get cleared, I have a feeling I'm going to get really used to attempting to play around these. But, you know, how do you play around Night Elf Huntress? However you build your board, they can decide how they want to clear it, right?
Yeah, like people are going to have to play around Cleave a lot because of Nomelia.
yeah. It'll recreate the Warcraft Rumble experience of playing a swarm deck and then getting brutalized by Night Elf Huntress. So yeah, that'll be a very, very flavorful.
Uh-huh.
One other thing outside of that one other change that's relevant is that Big Game Hunter is getting tradable.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know if that makes Big Game Hunter worth playing, but I had Big Game Hunter played against me on ladder this week without tradable, and I was very confused. But so, I mean, I guess they not anymore because they were probably targeting my my waste removers, and that's not going to work anymore now after the nerf. But
yeah,
you could still hit those giants that are coming back. We have Wand Maker, which, if you don't remember, is the 2-mana 2/2 battle cry. Add a 1-cost spell from your class to your hand from Scholomance, and it'll give you the gifts, and then we'll have it probably in many classes a somewhat small pool of things that Wand Maker can give you. So
yeah, expect to see a lot of Wand Makers. There's also, if we're gonna see elemental decks, having Firefly is very good for those, right? Just as a 1-mana elemental to keep the chain going, and you know, give you another one for all of that, right? Just makes it a lot more realistic to play an elemental every turn.
Yeah.
Overall, it seems like they've really been making an effort in all of these core changes to take out cards that we're not really seeing play, or could potentially be problematic, like the tour guide, and put in cards that are more likely to see play. They also put in Boulder Fist Ogre for the memes, I suppose. Yeah. But for the most part,
it's a 6-mana 6/7. You know, I mean, it's just a perfect card. I don't know why you wouldn't want it in the core set.
I do believe you can resurrect it with the Ogre Gang boss.
You can now, yes.
If, you know, you want to do that.
I
mean,
I don't know that you want to, because it doesn't attack on the turn that you resurrect it like all the other ones, but, you know, you do you, I guess.
It is large, I suppose.
Yes.
Good stats for the cost, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we should probably move on to Death Knight. So the quick version of the changes that they've had out are Mograine, Marrowgar, and Lady Death Whisper as triple rune payoffs, but they are keeping the other ones. So keeping Frostworm's Fury, keeping Vampiric Blood. Are we keeping Grave Strength?
We are.
We are keeping Grave Strength.
We are keeping Grave Strength. Okay.
I believe those are all the triple rune cards at this point, barring CNE, right? If you include that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really a reshaping of what the payoffs are, and losing Lady Death Whisper means you will only ever see 2 Frostworm's Furies in a game, period.
Thank goodness. And you probably won't see that many of them because there's just like a lot less incentive to go triple rune, just based on the way that they're changing the philosophy of Death Knight in particular. Like it's going to be, you really have to want a Frostworm's Fury as somebody if you're going to do that. And maybe you will. Like maybe that's the best thing to do in a 4-set meta. We've seen that happen before, but it's less likely, especially with some of the other things that are rotating out.
Some of the other things that we're losing in Blood, we're losing Blood Boil, Patchwork, and Heartstrike. In Unholy, we're losing Plague Strike, Malignant Horror, and Unholy Frenzy. In Frost, we're losing Glacial Advance, Howling Blast, Overseer, Frigidara, and Bonebreaker. So, I mean, some of those like Plague Strike, Blood Boil, and Patchwork, that definitely continues with the Blood Decay is dead, long live Blood Decay. Really going to look
Yeah.
different after rotation, which, I think I've been fairly vocal that I'm fine with that being changed.
I'm a little concerned about the 2 weapons going out, Rhyme Sculptor and Corrupted Ashbringer, because that focuses the pool of the discover a weapon, spend 3 corpses, give it +1/+1 even more. So the odds that you're going to be able to discover that mace or whatever it is that freezes the opponent just go up even more. And that weapon,
Quartzite Crusher, yeah.
Yeah, that thing is nuts. Especially at 4/4.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could also get the reworked Frostmourne.
It's true.
Which is now 6 mana, 4/3, and still Death Rattle summon every minion killed by this weapon. So,
yeah.
And that is legendary, but if you discover more of them, you can get more of them because it's not triple ring.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it has no runes at all.
And Malignant Horror is going out as a spender for Rainbow Decay. I mean, you will probably get other ones that are relevant, that are reasonable, but I mean, Malignant Horror is a card that is extremely relevant right now, and that's going out. And losing Blood Boil too is, I'm sure that this opens up some opportunities for like a Control Death Knight, just because like the options that they had were so good. Like Blood Boil was a ridiculous card from when it was printed, right? Like that's one of the reasons you would play Blood Decay. And I mean, Patchwork going out also helps, and Obliterate going away is just, I mean, we still have Asphyxiate, I think.
Yeah, Asphyxiate is actually going from 2 blood runes to no runes.
Right. So everyone will have access to Asphyxiate, but Obliterate going out means that you're not going to have to play around both of those, because like Blood Decay was very good at single target removal, especially earlier in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And losing Patchwork, losing Obliterate means that, I mean, I'm sure that they'll give more. This is going to open up the design space for them to actually build something else, because you just couldn't give more removal, because like then Blood Decay just gets oppressive, and people for whatever reason don't like it when a control deck is at the top of the meta. I can't imagine why.
I wonder why. And we're keeping a lot of the things that are in current Rainbow Decay, like Acolyte of Death, which was very important to keep for that. Corpse Bride. Nerubian Swarm Guard will be staying. That's just a solid card in any aggressive Death Knight that we see. It's also solid for I imagine they may have kept it for the hand buff, because they seem to be pushing that. And it's a really good hand buff target. So they made an effort to keep some of the more played cards that would have been rotating. They added those to core instead.
Yeah, they did change Acolyte of Death, though. It's going from 3 mana 3/4 to 3 mana 2/4, but no longer has a rune. So previously it had a frost rune requirement. Now it can be anything. So I think that's to maybe help out, Unholy a bit or something. Just keep things a little more flexible. And Harbinger of Winter, forget how they changed this one.
It's now 3 attack.
Oh, that's what it is.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Fine. That could be 3 attack.
I mean, okay, yeah, so it still draws a frost spell, but yeah, I think that like they know that Frost DK is going to need a little bit of help when it's losing some of these things. So, and I honestly a little happy to see Overseer Frigidara go, because it created this weird dynamic where it's like, well, you want to run Overseer Frigidara, but that means you can't run anything that is a frost spell, but like frost rune spell, but not frost spell school spell, because it only wanted to see frost spell school spells. So you couldn't do an excavate frost deck with Overseer Frigidara, really. And now that she's gone, you don't really have that same restriction. So you can do that and live the dream of playing the 7 mana 7/7 taunt Ox into Frostrim's Fury.
That we always thought was going to happen. Didn't
never
happen.
happened.
Could happen.
Maybe now's
now.
the time.
And Marrow Manipulator's sticking around, so you have that too.
And Marrow Manipulator's going down to 2 Frost runes, which I'm excited about that as well, because that was one that always felt a little wrong in Triple Frost.
I'm excited in general about the runes being less focused on triple.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other reason I'm excited about it not being triple is just the fact that it means it's discoverable, right? So certain things just...
I'm less excited about that.
I'm very excited about that. Give me discover 10 damage in my, blood unholy control deck. That's...
Yeah. Did that spend corpses?
It does. You spend...
Oh, so there you go. So you can
5
spend the corpses. That
2 damage each.
There's your spender for C&E.
That's true. I mean, I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic for Rainbow playing the hero, is that you lose access to a hero power that gives you corpses, but you will be able to, once you find it, discover an undead that can, potentially give you or spend corpses depending. So, yeah, very exciting things for Death Knight, I think.
Very exciting things for Death Knight. And I think that has the most longest changes besides neutral.
Right. Because they had to work with like Path of Arthas stuff and, all the stuff that they gave it to make sure it had enough cards to be on the level of the other classes. They now had to decide like, okay, what of these are going to be in core and what's not, etc.
This is Death Knight's first rotation.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So like it's going to be a little bit messier than all the rest of the classes.
All right. Well, if we look at Demon Hunter, so there's not that much changing in the core. Specifically, Flame Reaper, Wrathscale Naga, and Feast of Souls are leaving. Expendable Performers, Wayward Sage, and Umberwing are coming into core, and they also made changes to a few cards, and I'm trying to remind myself exactly. Okay, I think it's just Battle Fiend now has 3 health, and Metamorphosis deals 5 damage. In terms of, what is overall leaving, like rotating out. So, I mean, we're losing a lot of the Demon Hunter's not really doing a whole lot right now. We're losing Shelag, of course. We're losing the relics, finally. Although they haven't really been seeing play now. Those were a huge staple for a long time. We're losing the Nagas except for the new Nagas, except we're keeping Wrathscale. Still have some... Do we have any, like, Outcast type stuff sticking around?
We're losing Fellerin, and Wretched Exile was the Outcast payoff. So we're losing that as well. And with the Nagas, we're also losing Predation, because that was a big Naga payoff as well. So we're losing that also. And
we're losing Sightless Magistrate and Bibliomite and those cards. We're losing Soul Eater Scythe. We are losing Fellscale Evoker. So if you want to play big DH, this with the new buffs is your chance. Yeah, we'll have to see what Demon Hunter gets with the new set.
Also, Unleash Fel. Unleash Fel is a big deal. Was... I mean, Silvermoon Arcanist is also rotating, so I don't know how much you'd be getting out of Unleash Fel, but Unleash Fel going away is also a big deal. That was like their big comeback mechanic for a while, and that's going away.
Battle Fiend going to 1/3 is kind of spooky.
Yep.
So they're losing all the Outcast stuff, but I feel like there's going to be just a generic aggro deck, because they're keeping the empty hand stuff, right?
No.
Oh,
No.
no.
That was
Okay.
Nathrium.
Well,
No,
okay.
Bibliomite, Crixus, Magnifying Glaive, Dispose of Evidence, those are all gone. They're keeping momentum.
Okay, they're keeping mode. So
Yeah, they're keeping draw stuff.
which is always powerful, right? So I don't know what form exactly it's going to take, but there's a lot of damage here, right? When you consider that we're still going to have Battle Fiend, we're still going to have Vicious Slither Spear, which has historically been a good aggressive card for Demon Hunters. Wayward Sage is kind of just solid. Umberwing is a big deal. The fact that you can curve a 1/3 Battle Fiend into Umberwing, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of possibilities. And we're keeping Halveria.
And we're getting Expendable Performers back.
Yeah. That one, I don't really know what to do with.
I mean, you use it with Halveria, yeah?
Yeah, but it costs 7.
Yeah, that's right. It's been a little while since I played that card. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can get Halveria reduced potentially. I guess there was the draw 2 rush
Titan.
minions. Reducing with the Titan is the consistent way to do it. But I think it's just going to be a, play efficient minions, Demon Hunter, because they're going to have lots of good 1-drops. I mean, the snake oil salesman is also a solid one. And then I feel like there's one more. The undead, the 1 mana 2/3 rush that you take.
Oh yeah. The new zombie chow. I forget what it's called, but yeah, the one that's like zombie chow. I mean, we might even see Snake Eyes played in a 4-set meta. Like
Maybe.
It's not great, but like you may just run out of stuff to put in and you might just find room for it.
You know what works well with expendable performers? A card that everyone has forgotten, Snakebite, Rush, Battlecry, gain +1/+1 for each minion that died this turn.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
A little expensive if you don't discount somehow, but yeah.
But if you're thinking of, like a Highlander DH, because remember, Demon Hunter got Highlander stuff. It just like hasn't, had its time to shine because other stuff has been too powerful. But there may be a world in which, you run expendable performers because it's a, odd sort of flexible clear, and maybe you do that kind of one too. I mean, that's minimum 15/15, right? Not even including the stuff that you're killing on the opposing side of the board.
Like, this is like we have trial by fire at home, but yeah.
Yeah, so I am excited if we're able to get a just straight up aggro. That was the original type of Demon Hunter that I came in playing because I missed Ashes of Outland. And came in just playing
I wouldn't say you missed it.
I got to come in, say, oh, these cards seem like pretty decent. Like, yeah, this altruist guy. And then I saw clips of what had been. And I was like, what in the world is this? Hat sent me a clip of him on day 1 of Ashes of Outland being like, this should not be possible. He was like a kid in a candy store. After he killed someone on, 4 or 5 with an insane altruist.
Yeah, I mean, the most famous one he talked about was a paladin, I believe, a Libram paladin that had the 8/8 Divine Shield taunt up and had just healed himself. And Altruist cleared their entire board and them, right? Like, it just killed everything and then they died from the attack. So, yeah.
It was a time.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a time.
All right. Shall we move on to Druid?
Indeed.
So some of the things that are leaving core, we have Curie and both Lunar and Solar Eclipse are leaving. Nourish is leaving. Wild Growth is leaving. Asterisk, it's still there in the gift, and it will still be a total of 3 mana when you play it from the gift. Soul of the Forest is leaving. Pounce is leaving. What's coming in is Greybow, Lesser Jasper Spellstone, Park Panther, Raven Idol, Thick-Hide Kodo, Swipe, and Oaken Summons, which has
and Swipe's been
changed.
buffed, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
Yes, Swipe is now 3 mana, which includes, I believe, when you discover it from the gift. So the gifts basically are like, they are historic when that means it's better, and if there is a newer version, it'll do the newer, better version. So it's always going to be good for you. But, while a lot of people lamented Druid, losing Nourish and Wild Growth, I think this is actually a pretty interesting core for them. And because they effectively are keeping Wild Growth in the gift, I don't think it's actually that bad, right? Nourish leaving, I like because it created this thing with the Forge card where you were disincentivized from ever putting in other choose cards besides Nourish, so that you could just targeted draw your double Nourish, and that was just like too good to be worth including other choose one cards, and that was always kind of disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, Nourish was always both the best choose one card for any choose one synergies and the best nature spell for any nature tutors.
Right.
And like Widowbloom Seedsman. So like it's been abused a lot, no matter pretty much what the team does to print. Like, Nourish is the answer. So just taking Nourish out and making it so that like the choose ones, you're going to do something different. Like maybe Lifebinder's Gift isn't actually the best thing to do other than Nourish with with Embrace of Nature, or well, Widowbloom Seedsman is going away also, so we don't have to worry about tutoring nature spells. I mean, it is going to lose a fair amount of ramp, at least from what we can see. Like, losing Widowbloom Seedsman and Nourish is a big deal. Like, they do have the 6 mana summon 3/7s if your mana's full card. I don't know. I mean, that sees a little bit of play now.
The 6 mana skip the mid game card.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
it's 6 mana skip the sort of late mid game. Like, you still have Wild Growth. You have to play like your 5 mana turn. Like, you can't just skip from the early game completely to the late game.
You go from 6 mana to 10 mana.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that is a huge jump. You just have to take a second to get there because you can't nourish into it.
Given that they have ANR, like, I think people are not really considering that that's still going to be quite good. And, having Wild Growth, having the Whelp, right? That
We still have the Whelp.
can still ramp you on too. There's going to be a decision between whether, if you're dragons, you'll run the Whelp to ramp you. If you are not, then you'll maybe go for an Oaken Summons, right? With Thick Hide Kodo and or Park Panther, both of which are really solid recruits off of Oaken Summons. So that's going to be quite good. Lesser Jasper Spellstone, I think, has always been just like totally respectable removal option for a druid. And, they're still going to have armor stuff going on. So
This makes me think we're likely to have more armor and maybe also hero attack synergies for druid at some point this year, because we got a lot of things that gain armor for the druid.
Yeah, maybe not, because I mean, they're just putting spellstones into a lot of classes because they're bringing the spellstones back in Whizbang Workshop.
Yeah.
Right. So like, they don't necessarily have to go hard in. They've already got plenty of armor gain anyway. I mean, less so now that Pendant got nerfed to heal. I think, keep in mind that these changes would have been locked in well before they had decided on balance changes. So like, there was no problem with getting a whole lot of armor in Druid up to now, even with just what's there between like Frost Lotus Blossom and when they had Pendant of Earth giving you armor. Chitinous Plating is going away, I guess, but that wasn't even getting run. But like, there was just like not a problem with getting armor and generating a lot of armor. We may get, you're going to get some armor gain just because that's part of the class identity, I think, but I don't know that they're necessarily going to go hard into it like they have in the past.
I kind of hope they don't, because when the druid is getting that much armor, it's quite irritating.
When it out armors warrior, there's a problem. Yeah.
And there's still Frost Lotus Seedling.
Yeah, there's still Frost Lotus Seedling. There's still Oaken Summons and Thick Hide Kodo armor things that they're putting in with the Spellstone in core. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 more armor cards for Druid out of the Whizbang expansion. So we'll just have to see. But really, after seeing the Rumble cards, I'm not terribly concerned for Druid because they will have access to pretty potent neutral clears that they can still jump from 3 to 5 and then be able to use a number of those clears on 5. So
yeah, who needs Scale of Onyxia when you have that new 6 mana Rumble?
Yeah.
Let's not compare those things. Like, it's a good card. It is not Scale of Onyxia. Like, there is some air between those two things.
Well, it does 2 to the whole board and an extra 4 cleave. I think that's often doing as much as Scale was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Scale had the
but you
flexibility.
didn't have like all the bodies left over, right? Like,
yeah, Scale had some extra flexibility, but it's still going to clear a lot. Things that we're losing out of sets, we're losing Topiary. We're losing fewer things that are being played now, I think. We're losing Rake. Good riddance, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of the things that were powerful in the stuff that we're losing either got nerfed or is no longer played.
The token druid stuff is all significant. Like we're losing a lot of the token druid cards, like Herald of Nature, Jarden Gardens, Natural Causes, Plot of Sin, Life from Death, Lingering Zombie, Soul of the Forest. Soul of the Forest are going out of core. Like that was a significant package that up until very recently was pretty popular. Aquatic Form is a big one.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
That's been in almost every, I think in every druid deck that's been there, and also losing the eclipses for things specifically like
Oh yeah, that's huge.
Pendant of Earth for things like Frost Lotus Blossom is also a big deal. It's going to be a lot less of gain 20, especially because Naga Giants. I mean, it's you can't get 20 armor anymore off of Pendant of Earth, but even if you're healing, you're not going to be able to heal off a Naga Giant anymore because that's also going out of core or out of standard. So
yeah, I mean,
it's
Solar Eclipse has always done ludicrous stuff. Like there's always something that doubling is just a little too spooky. So, but I think Aquatic Form is low key one of the biggest hits to Druid because it just added a level of consistency that was pretty bananas.
Yep. All right, Hunter. As already mentioned, we are losing original King Crush. Also leaving is Cat Trick, Doggy Biscuit, Selective Breeder, that's a big one, Wandering Monster, Candle Shot, and Marked Shot. And we are getting in Barak Kodobane, Ice Trap, Master's Call, Rat Trap, Ball of Spiders, which has been buffed, if you didn't remember, Lesser Emerald Spellstone, and Kill Command.
It is the age of Hunter card draw entering core here, because...
Yeah, and Secret Hunter is coming back, clearly.
Yes.
We'll see. I mean, Spellstone was good once upon a time. I don't know if that's going to be good enough these days, but certainly in a Highlander world, Barak Kodobane has potential for some kind of variant.
And that is draw a 1, a 2, and 3 cost spell, if you don't remember this. It's a legendary 5 mana 3/5.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because Trinket Tracker's going out, right? So, like, being able to get... It's not on 1, but being able to get those small spells out of your deck is relevant, too.
Yeah.
Any sort of draw for Hunter is relevant. Master's Call, discover a minion in your deck. If all 3 are beasts, draw them all. Like, that could be huge for if we have some sort of beast deck or big beast deck. Even if it's just a tutor for the thing that you want.
Mm-hmm.
You could get your King Plush.
You could get your King Plush. Ball of Spiders now costs 3, so maybe and it summons 3 1/1 web spinners with Death Rattle, get a random beast. This card was 6 mana when it originally existed.
it was, and it was
It wasn't a card.
abysmal.
It wasn't a card at 6 mana. It's now actually a card.
Maybe.
It might be like a decent card too, at least with a small beast pool. I think there might be something there, particularly when you consider we have Observer of Myths still, right? So potentially a go wide Hunter where you just do your Ball of Spiders and then you run out Observer of Myths and some Jormungandrs and just start buffing everything. Could be pretty good.
Could be pretty good. Some of the things that are leaving for Hunter from the expansions, Harpoon Gun is leaving. Obviously, the Titan is leaving.
The Colossal, not the Titan.
The Titan is staying.
Yeah,
Colossal is leaving.
Yeah.
Faithful Companions is leaving. Although we would still have Stranglethorn Heart for what it is worth. We're losing the Arcane Hunter package. Kind of a shame. I always kind of liked that, but it definitely did have its time in the sun.
Yeah. The big one, I think, is just the Colossal, right? Hydralodon was the deal with this or die, and also I get to clear stuff for quite a while, and it was just this card that could end games on the spot, and not having access to that is going to be a pretty big blow for Hunter.
Yeah, and Hope of Quel'Thalas along with that, right? Because Hope of Quel'Thalas,
yes,
just being able to buff the whole, and Lord Thamartheron is a lesser, also with, I mean, that was the whole Faithful Companion stack, but having access to some of those buffs, and also Collateral Damage is a card that was used in some Hunter decks as a finisher, and that's not going to be around anymore. And we're losing a bunch of secrets, which is probably why they're adding. Maybe we're not getting a whole bunch of secrets, but they're just like, we're losing 4 secrets out of standard between core and rotation, and also Costume Singer's going away.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, wait, Costume Singer, no, is it actually? Or is that's
one's
that's
staying.
Festival of Legends.
Yeah,
That is Festival of
I don't know why I have
Legends.
that.
That is staying.
Yeah, I don't know why I have that listed on the thing. Yeah, never mind.
And Starstring Bow also stays.
Yes. Yeah, Festival is now the oldest set in standard, or is going to be the oldest set in standard. So
Yeah, I forgot that was a dual class card because it's never played a mage ever.
Yeah, we keep Hollowhound. Hollowhound
Yep.
is a Festival of Legends card. For some reason, I always think it's March of the Lich King, but it is not. It is Festival of
Because
Legends.
it's undead. That's why.
yeah.
All right, I am trying to.
Oh,
Keep
we're
us
also getting
moving,
Kill
though.
Command back, which is with Beasts, which is also relevant.
Yes.
Yeah, Kill Command is a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So that is definitely. That one, if you don't remember, is deal 3 damage. If you control a beast, deal 5 damage instead, can go face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is often where it's going. Usually where it's going. So, all right. Mage, we are losing Egwin. Very sad. We're losing Pyroblast, Fire Sail, and Snap Freeze. We are gaining Flame Strike, Primordial Glyph, Frostbolt, and Caligos has been changed.
Caligos is 9 mana down from 10, I believe.
Caligos
It's
is now down to 8 mana.
down from 9.
Oh, it's 8 mana. It's down from 9. Sorry.
Yeah.
I knew it was one less. Yeah.
It's gonna be real spooky getting like Caligos into, what is it, Sunset something, the 10 mana spell that does
Sunset Volley, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
That's a Mask of Cthulhu plus summon a 10 drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Caligos is your first spell. Each turn costs 0. Battle Cry, discover a spell, and a dragon.
Yeah.
Don't coin it out.
Don't coin it out.
Indeed. Yeah.
Like, I coin out Golganeth still.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, I think, about Primordial Glyph because it's terrible in Wild because the pool's too big. But when Primordial Glyph was in Standard, hitting that small pool of spells was quite powerful with the 2 mana reduction. So getting this back could do some pretty wacky things. Mostly what I want to do is Light Show. Just give it to me for one expansion. Just give me a Light Show. I want to do it. I feel like this is the best shot because it's going to be 4 set again. And yeah, having a Glyph, we're going to lose the Discover to things that cost
Vast Wisdom.
Yeah, Vast Wisdom, which, once that had gotten buffed, that was pretty good. So I don't know.
Still have
but-
Rewind.
Yeah.
You're not going to have Ramath, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Ramath always felt like you end up doing this, but you do so much Discover and generate so much stuff that it got kind of crazy, and to the point of like you didn't want to run some things because Ramath would cast them.
Yeah, Ramath was basically like Ticket to Sing Yourself at a certain point because
Yeah.
it would just draw cards and put cards in your hand that you didn't want, and then just burn cards off the top of your deck.
And you still have Void Scripture. You still have Stargazing, which now actually works with. Why am I completely blanking on the card? Light Show. We still have Infinitize the Maxitude, if we even have room in our hand for it. So, yeah, there's still a lot of ways to discover in Mage. It is still Mage. So,
Yeah. Though we are losing Savara, so that doesn't help Light Show Mage either. But
It's true.
that is true.
I'm really sad about Egwin.
yeah,
Oh well.
And we are losing Spitelash Siren. Oh, we still have volume up for extra copies of things. We are losing Cold Case. That is a big card to be losing.
That's a tough one
Yeah.
for sure.
we're losing all the skeleton stuff.
All of the skeleton
So,
stuff, but especially
yeah.
We're losing the Mech Mage stuff that was just buffed. I'm seeing here Hollow Technician. I got a Hollow Technician off of a Heartthrob, and then they cast Blade Storm, and then it killed my whole board because
oh, no.
Hollow Technician, when it takes exactly 1 damage, it dies. Yeah. Has never otherwise been played.
Well, Frozen Touch is another big one. Yeah.
Yeah, Nathria in general.
Frozen Touch Objection is a big one that we're losing.
Yeah.
Which is dead.
Honestly, I'm happy to see Objection go.
Even Edel is happy.
Well, as nice as it was to have this secret you could discover to stop certain things, it's such a miserable experience to play against that, like, I don't know. I'd just as soon it be gone.
Oh, I thought you were happy. You were sad it was leaving. You're happy it's leaving.
I might have misspoke, but yes, I'm glad that it is going away.
Okay. Yes. No. Absolutely. Get out. I'm fine with it.
It got randomly generated so much.
Well, it's awful with counterspell also in the pool.
Right.
Right.
And when you're getting the stuff off the excavate cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody ever plays Objection in their deck, right? Like it's always randomly generated, and then you always have to test for 6 things, 2 of which are just lose a thing, right? So you have to test for Counterspell and Objection first before you can do anything else, because it's always randomly generated, and you can't like narrow it down. Like back in the old like Tempo Mage days, like there were 2 secrets, right? It was like Mirror Entity and Counterspell, and that was it. And there you could test for that.
And then there was Blazing Rune and
Explosive Runes,
Explosive Rune, right, which was good, but not as good as Objection.
Right. And we also still have Explosive Rune alongside it anyway. Also, Silent Alibi is going away, which is another thing that I'm sure a lot of people will be excited about, because that also is annoying to play against.
Yes.
And wasn't even really being run anymore.
But people will still be excited.
Yes.
There's no chance that it comes back to haunt us.
Right.
Until it gets added back to core inevitably.
I don't know if they'll add that one back, but they'll print some other BS. Or at least the thing that people decide is BS either way. I had plenty of times when I got very annoyed by solid alibis over and over again. Paladin. So we are losing Lothraxion the Redeemed, a card that I forgot was in Standard. We are losing Amber Watcher, True Silver Champion, and Blessing of Kings. We are gaining Lady Liadrin. I believe this is the original Lady Liadrin.
This is the original one, yeah.
7 mana, 4/6 legendary battlecry. Add a copy of each spell you cast on friendly characters this game to your hand. We're also getting Hammer of the Naru, Spike Ridged Steed, and Silver Moon Portal.
Really like the Paladin core.
Yeah.
Spike Ridged Steed and Hammer of the Naru just take me back. And Lady Liadrin only ever existed with Librams. So I'm really interested in seeing how she plays without them.
Or if she plays without them.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, getting Spike Ridged Steed back is pretty cool, right? And I don't think she ever existed when Spike Ridged Steed was around.
And it's a good thing that Grace is no longer a thing, or you would just get 2 free +5/+5
or
Divine
Holy
Shield.
Maki roll for that matter.
Yeah.
They really seem to be leaning into the ability to have a slower Paladin, and Paladin's gotten a lot of slower cards in the more recent sets. So I'm excited to see what a control Paladin might look like.
Well, and you can get additional Shroomskavates. Not that Shroomskavate is ever used in that way, but you can do it.
Just in case it didn't kill them.
The first one needs to end the game. You don't play another card after
Grace is going away, so maybe not anymore.
Yeah.
Yep. We're losing a lot of stuff that Paladin plays. Countess, Leviathan, Light Ray, Garden's Grace. We're losing
like all the pure stuff,
all of
really.
The pure stuff. Sanguine.
Like Purator isn't played since it got nerfed, but we're losing that in Class Action Lawyer also.
The other Liadrin, we're losing Sanguine Soldier. And for Quel'Thalas, we're losing. So that whole deck that has existed.
Yeah. Order in the Court's going away.
Yep.
Sinful Sous Chef also is going away, as is Buffet Biggin. So a lot of we're also losing Promotion, but we never played that, even though everyone thought that was going to be broken.
Honestly, really nice, because sometimes you would like generate that in other stuff and you're like, great, I can't play this ever.
Yeah.
I think, it makes sense that they printed Shroomskavate right before we lose Grace, because I think it's a much less scary card when you don't have Garden's Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And most of what they have, they still have, Boogie Down, but not as many 1-drops to go with it unless we get some.
Mhm.
And
Which I'm sure they will, but
which I'm
Yeah.
sure they will, but we've lost Sinful Sous Chef, we've lost Sanguine Soldier. You
Foul Egg 2, which gets played in Paladin a lot, even though it's not a Paladin card.
Right. We have Miracle Salesman if you're not going pure, and there's kind of no
Yeah.
longer a reason to go pure because all of those are rotating out.
I have come to appreciate a specific use case of Shroomscavate, which is playing it on a Titan to do 2 abilities. So
Yeah.
usually that's
Yeah.
in Shaman where Golganeth discounts a spell by 3. You do Shroomscavate, so you can deal 20 to something and deal 3 to the whole board, or draw and deal 3, whatever you kind of need to do. So it obviously better there, but Paladin can do the same thing at 10 mana, right? Of play the Titan and choose 2 of the options.
That's what my big shaman needs.
Yeah. Plus also we're getting Leroy and South Sea Deckhand. So South Sea Deckhand might be a card that you play with Boogie down, right?
That,
and if
yeah.
Paladin gets some cheap weapons, that could be burst damage off of Boogie down.
Well, they still have Muster, right?
Yeah, Muster's still there. Yeah, you can still play Muster. I mean, so Muster into Boogie down is a thing that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
We're keeping the Excavate stuff, we're keeping Earthens, and we're keeping a lot of control tools. So I'm definitely interested to see where Paladin ends up. We're keeping all the auras.
Mhm.
All right. Priest.
Here we are.
Here we are at Priest. So we are losing. We're losing Benny. Dark Bishop Benedictus. Now, really, he already rotated when Void Touch Attendant rotated. Still, it is sad. We are losing Draconid Operative. That doesn't really matter. Holy Champion, Shadow Word Death, Shadowed Spirit. That one is sad. And Shard of the Naru.
That's very sad.
Yay! It's been 3 years.
Shard of the Naru is a card that has so much utility. It really makes playing Priest feel a lot better, and there are some decks that just get soloed by it. So
Yeah, and also with Smothering Starfish going out, there's no mass silence in the game now, aside from like Reno, which is not really silence, but more just get rid of everything.
aside from Reno, but otherwise, until
Yeah.
they have 8 mana, I would say turn 8, but Druid exists still. Until they have 8 mana, I'm not going to get all my death rattles and my buffs. Yeah, I am excited about that.
Until they print something else, but yes.
Until they print something else. We are gaining Madame Lazul, Obsidian Statue, Ship's Chirurgeon, Lesser Diamond Spellstone, Void Shard, and Shadow Word Pain.
Oh yeah, give me that Resurrect Priest, put it right in my veins. Obsidian Statue and Lesser Spellstone in Reno Priest.
Oh yeah. It's specifically for that, right? They're saying
absolutely.
This is how you build Reno Priest. Double down.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
There were some complaints about this. I actually think it makes a lot of sense to have Statue and Diamond Spellstone for that Priest, and particularly with the new Ziliax is also going to be quite good for that deck because you can build whatever is going to be best for what you want.
Yeah. And Katrina Muerte is still in Standard.
Exactly, and that gets a lot better. Is Obsidian Statue undead?
It is an undead, yes.
No, it's not on this.
It's not?
It is not.
I thought it was.
It is not an undead.
Oh, I thought it was.
I was about to say, it's like a gargoyle thing, so...
Oh, I thought it was. Okay, never mind.
It is a statue. And it is, if you don't remember this card, a 9 mana 4/8 taunt, lifesteal, death rattle, destroy a random enemy minion.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see how this is pretty good to get back.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not super thrilled about that. But, Void Shard, okay, I kind of don't really understand when, no Benedictus and no even Void Touch Attendant, right? Ship's Trojan, I don't see being played in a world without Void Touch Attendant. That's kind of the thing you would do in Wild. And in Wild, right, it was, you would Ship's Trojan, and because it's a pirate, it would pull patches. And then you would, go Void Touch Attendant stuff.
Yeah.
But, okay. I don't know, maybe...
If we get into a world
point
where we have, like, an aggressive priest that, especially if we're overhealing, like, maybe that's there to keep the health of them up so that they don't die as easily. Like, there's a world in which I could see it. Like, we need to see what we're going to... Like, they're not bringing Ship's Chirurgeon in if we're not going to get something to do with it. That's a weird ad. right?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of make a case for, okay, well, we're getting spellstones because we're getting spellstones across the board. If we're getting spellstones, we need something to resurrect, so we'll get an obsidian statue, bring that back. It's got a nice flavor for some people, and some people it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. Fine, whatever. But like ship's true origin is weird, right?
Yeah.
And we're not getting ship's true origin unless they have something that they're planning on doing with it that
It
we're
makes
going to want to use it.
me hopeful because that is the kind of priest deck that I tend to enjoy. So, and it also shows that they're not just wanting to do Reno priest type stuff for the whole year.
Yeah.
And then Madame Lazul is just okay. Like,
I mean, we're losing identity theft, right? Like that's just kind of replacing identity theft.
Okay. I didn't realize that was going away. Thank goodness. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Nathria, I believe. So yeah, some of the stuff that we are losing for priests. I mean, we were already losing everything that would have gone with Dark Bishop,
Right.
Anyway, so it doesn't really matter. A lot of that undead stuff that they got is going away. Obviously, losing Blackwater Behemoth. We are losing. I feel like and we're losing all of the Naga Priest stuff, of course. But a lot of what's been being played in Priest recently, I think, is new archetypes. I mean, Overhill keeps everything. Amanthul stays. The Reno stuff in general stays. Thirsty Drifter stays. Automaton Priest, if that's what you're doing, stays. We are losing some control tools like Clean the Scene.
We're losing a lot of control tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're losing Thief Priest.
Clean the Scene, Whirlpool, Light It Burn, Shard of the Naru, Cannibalize, Sisters Fauna, Cathedral of Atonement.
Oh, that's a big one.
Those are all going. That is basically like half of Control Priest is gone.
So they're going to need to be cheating out those obsidian statues.
If we get to live that long, yeah. And yeah.
Maybe with playing minions while we live that long. Imagine.
Yeah.
That was
Pelagos is also going, by the way, in case you care about health on minions. Yeah.
No, definitely a lot of, all of the decks that we had before, the undead deck is gone, Naga Priest and the less priest type stuff is gone. Cathedral is a huge hit to basically every priest deck ever.
Yep. Yeah, I'm curious what new board clear they're going to give Priest, because I feel like every time we've been like, Priest is losing all their clears, then we get Psychic Scream. So
Yeah, we got Whirlpool 2 years ago after we lost after we lost like Soul Mirror, right? Like, so yeah.
I mean, we might get really desperate and be playing Serenity or Fight Over Me, Invasive Shadeleaf. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's
we're not going to get that desperate. Invasive Shadeleaf is a fine card, and I won't have you denigrating it.
Won't have me lump it in with the other two. We do still keep Harmonic Pop.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest clear that's staying.
That is a clear.
I don't know.
Yes.
Maybe you're just going to have to resort to Light Bugs. It might just be...
Well, Light Bomb is a card we still have too in core.
Right, yeah. Well, okay, you guys had your fun.
Okay.
Now I get to have my fun.
Oh, I get to have my fun by all the stuff that's leaving Rogue.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
That's also good for me. So Rogue, if you'll let me do this one, is losing all the secret stuff. Shadow Jeweler Hanar, Ambush, Buccaneer, well, that's not secret stuff, but Buccaneer, Cheat Death, and Plagiarize. So...
Good, get out.
Yeah, no secret stuff for Rogue. I'm quite pleased with that. I don't know if that has anything to do with, hey, it's Hearthstone's 10-year anniversary and Rogue didn't start with secrets. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but honestly, anytime that they made new secrets for Rogue, they always had to bring in secrets to core so that there would be enough to actually make it potentially a little bit of a question mark of what's actually there. But this really has me excited because I don't really like doing Secret Rogue stuff, but oh man, guess what we get instead? Flick Sky Shiv. I missed Flick so much. Flick Sky Shiv. So Priest, while it's losing Whirlpool, which is its way of getting rid of all copies of a thing, Rogue is getting 6 mana, 4/4, Battle Cry, destroy an enemy minion, and all copies of it everywhere. Oh, I love it so much. I don't even know if it's how relevant that text line is going to be. It was so good, and shadow stepping it was delightful. I missed Flick Sky Shiv. And then we've also got a thing that has me a little worried, which is Spectral Cutlass, which is a Burgle Rogue support thing, right? Which will go pretty well with the Excavate stuff, potentially. Because, I mean, not with the weapon, because then if you want to play the shovel, you would be breaking this, but Spectral Cutlass, 4 mana, 2/2 lifesteal weapon that gets an extra durability every time you play a card from another class. So that's a little spooky.
Yeah.
We also have Raiding Party, draw 2 pirates from your deck, combo, and a weapon.
And it's 3 mana, not 4, I believe.
It is 3 mana. We have Sap, good old Sap, 2 mana, return an enemy minion to your opponent's hand. We already have Canaries. Do they really need to do this also?
Yeah, but you can't put Canary in your deck.
Yeah, but they always get it, Steve. They always get it.
Again, Sappy Bird, yes.
Yeah, I don't know that this card is actually that great because there's a lot of things you don't want to target with it, right? And so it's
I mean, let's be real. You're playing Sap when you want to hit them in the face for lethal. That's why you're running Sap, right? Like that a lot, like most of the time. Like if you're at a point where you have to care about the fact that they can play it again, you probably shouldn't be playing Sap at that point in the game most of the time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a pretty old school rogue having Sap back. Like now we finally have the old usual suspects of prep, backstab, deadly poison, eviscerate, fan of knives, shadow step, and Sap all in rogue core again. So whether or not they'll be able to be used to the same effect, but getting Leroy back in core is kind of a rogue thing because you can shadow step Leroy.
Do we have Cold Blood in standard?
No, Cold Blood's
okay, thank goodness. Okay.
And I think still 2 mana. I forget.
I mean, we have things that will buff weapons that have only seen occasional play, like Mic Drop from Festival. Gives your weapon +2 attack and draws 2 cards. And with the Spectral Cutlass and Raiding Party, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of weapon rogue with new cards that are coming in. Not necessarily like those are enough to do it by themselves, but that might be a direction that they're thinking of, potentially. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I don't know if there will be pirates that like you're looking to play in an Excavate rogue. I don't know that there are any natural fits, but
South Sea Deckhand.
Right. Yeah. If you can make it work, then doing Raiding Party for Cutlass alongside the Excavate stuff and having access to deadly poison and in the gift more deadly poisons, like it might be a sort of weird form of weapon rogue.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Some of the things that we are losing all of the Nathria Miracle stuff. Draka's out. Graveyard is out. Krakatoa, that's a big one for many rogue decks. Of course, all of the secret rogue stuff. That one I'm not sorry to see go. Goodbye, Ghastly Gravedigger.
And Sketchy Stranger also is going away. That's a neutral.
Yeah, well, because that's a secret thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Serrated Bone Spike is out. And also all of the concoctions. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I am kind of bummed that at least as of what we know now, there's no miracle stuff to be done. So without Draka or the locations, like we have the gas, but nothing to power with it.
I would imagine that they've been holding back on printing anything like that because we've had all that stuff in standard and we'll probably get more of it.
Which makes me think that there must be something in this expansion in particular, right? The fact that we're losing all this stuff, that Edwin is not coming into core and is not in Hearth. I wonder if there will be another Edwin-like effect. I guess we'll see. But presently, Rogue has 7s and Greedy Partner, which alongside Shadow Step is perhaps the single most insane way of having pop-off turns for Rogue that we've had in a while.
Well, you have Wishing Well for a greedy partner, right? Like, you can still do things with coin.
I guess, but like that, I don't know. That's not my Miracle Rogue. That's
It's the kind of Miracle Rogue I like in Standard because it's bad.
You'll still die to like random legendaries sometimes. It's
Also worth mentioning, Shatter Shambler and Scourge Illusionist are going, so no more cheating out Trilly.
Right.
For Excavate Rogue, that's a big deal. And Shadow of Demise also, I don't know if we mentioned that or not.
Shadow of Demise, that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah. So they're keeping Shadow Step, but at least they don't get a third Shadow Step off of their Shadow of Demise.
Yeah.
So I think Rogue's going to look really different. I mean, they're keeping the mech stuff, but that had already kind of fallen off to some extent, although it's probably still perfectly playable. The stuff from Festival, mostly we haven't seen very much of. I don't know if that will change.
You got a lot of weird combo stuff that maybe if you're getting like a different Miracle Rogue, maybe then you have more combo stuff. Who knows? Yeah,
we may have to resort to the combo form of Miracle, but like you don't get to reap the benefits of stepping greedy partner for profit in that situation. It's only about playing combo cards to buff up your rush thing. So, and there's only 2 of them.
I don't think Rogue people are going to be super thrilled if that's all we've got.
This is how other people feel when Whirlpool is going away. It's like that's the same. That's that's me getting out my tiniest violin.
I will be disappointed if Rogue does not have some payoff for playing a lot of things in a turn.
So let me assuage your fears, right? What they've said for the goal of this year is to give a lot of the Hearthstone nostalgia.
Yeah.
There is no way that we are going to get out of a 10th anniversary year without some form of Miracle Rogue existing.
I have no doubt that it'll happen during the year. It's just, am I going to have to wait an expansion? Maybe. We'll see.
I want it now, is what you're saying. I get it. Okay.
I'm just saying, the stuff's rotating out. There's nothing to replace it that we know of yet. I'm curious if we're going to have a break, right? Which I would think you would not be thrilled about, because that means the only Rogue people are going to be playing is Excavate, Scorpion stuff.
Maybe they just won't play it.
There's no shot.
There's no world where they don't play it. We have to have Miracle Rogue be good, because then people might play it instead. Yeah. People love Miracle Rogue. All right, we've talked enough about Rogue.
We've talked enough about this terrible class. Let's move on to other classes, because we need to go to bed at some point.
So Shaman is losing Grand Totem Eyesore, because it's losing all the other totem stuff, basically. Doomhammer, Bloodlust, except Bloodlust is in the gift. Zap, and the Strength Totem is going away in favor of the old Wrath of Air Totem, which is the spell damage +1 totem. So when you use your hero power, you'll never get Strength Totem, but you could get Wrath of Air Totem. Strength Totem was the give another friendly minion +1 attack.
Yep.
So we're back to our classic Air Totem.
Mm-hmm.
We're also getting Muck Pools is staying in core, so it's rotating straight to core. We have Air Elemental, 1 mana, 3/1 Elemental Elusive, which is their new keyword for an old effect of can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Spirit Claws, which I know some people have found spooky. 1 mana, 1/3 weapon, has +2 attack while you have spell damage. And Kalimos Primal Lord is in here for elementals. 7 mana, 7/7 elemental Battlecry. If you played an elemental last turn, cast an elemental invocation.
Yeah, that used to be 8. So very happy to have Kalimos Primal Lord. They're really pushing the elemental shaman, I think, because it didn't land. And or I mean, maybe even has nothing to do with, right? It's just they're clearly pushing it. And I think it'll finally have a shot in, 4-set meta with Firefly, with Kalimos, with this new air elemental. So excited about that. Spirit Claws, definitely spooky alongside Novice Zapper. That's...
That's I mean, it's a little less spooky than it was, I think, but
yes, but that's a real, on the coin swing play, right? Against some other aggressive deck as you go Zapper, coin, Spirit Claws. You know,
I mean, let's just keep in perspective that when Spirit Claws was good was when we had 1.5 expansions, or like two and a half expansions in standard, as opposed to like the card pool that we have now, right?
yeah. Well, and then there was Crackle, and
Well, yeah, we had Crackle, we had Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem. Like it was not all on Spirit Claws' back. That
different time.
you know.
Yeah, we
Yes.
don't have the things that go with it.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we are losing in Shaman, I mean, we're losing the big Shaman that never really was a thing and still probably is not a thing.
Yeah.
Though Prescience is a card that got played occasionally.
Prescience is
for sure.
We are losing.
Yeah,
out of
we
that.
are losing Prescience. We are losing Totem Shaman. I'm looking through here. Evolve Shaman.
yeah.
I mean, we're keeping Muck Pools. I think some sort of fair Evolve Shaman might be something. I mean,
Well,
that's always the thing with Evolve Shaman. Either it's broken and people are mad about it, or it's fair and then it's fair. So why do you? Yeah.
I mean, the thing
Yeah.
about Muck Pools is that it actually is a kind of card that you could theoretically just play for value in a deck that's not an Evolved Shaman at all. But say you just are running Battlecry minions that have crappy stats, and so you run Muck Pools because then you turn them into better things.
Yeah, it always had other uses. And we are losing, and I think that might be more likely than a dedicated Evolved Shaman, unless we get a dedicated Evolved Shaman set. But like we're losing Primordial Wave, for example. That's a card that definitely has seen some play. We're losing Command of Neptulon. We're losing Bioluminescence, of course.
Sweet Glug is going away.
Sweet Glug is going away.
Schooling is also a big deal.
Schooling
is a pretty big deal.
And that might be the like single most played card here.
We're losing some of the Murloc stuff, like Clownfish and Rockgill, and the draw 3 Murlocs neutral that I can't remember the name of right now, but like so that's all going away. Like that was a legitimate package in a fair number of Shaman decks for a while, and that's not going to be a thing. Also, Cold Storage is a card that saw some play sometimes. That's going to be going away also.
Oh, I am going to miss Cold Storage. Can't take Warrior brands anymore.
You just have to Yogg them, I guess. Well, you can't play them from hand though. Yeah. You just have to Shattered Reflections them instead.
That's the wrong class, Wicked.
I know.
All right. Well, we have 2 more classes. We can do this. So Warlock. Warlock, we are losing some of the big demon stuff that didn't really see play. So Mal'Ganis, Abyssal Enforcer, Lakari Fellhound, Void Caller. We're also losing Imp Gang Boss and Fiendish Circle, since we're losing the Imp stuff in general. That makes sense. We are gaining Archvillain Rafam, which if you didn't play when that was a thing, which I didn't actually, it is a 7 mana, 7/8 taunt, battle cry, replace your hand and deck with legendary minions.
It is a very fun card and not a very good card.
It was at Worlds.
That Worlds was like 2 weeks after rotation. And we didn't know what the good decks were at that time. I don't know if they had another month to cook if Archvillain Rafam would have been in that deck, because it fell out
Yeah, I was about to ask.
pretty fast.
Did that card get played?
It did. Got played at,
It did get
at
played in
Worlds,
Worlds,
and it
but
was
yeah,
pretty silly,
yeah.
and they still lost.
It was like the one time they had Worlds in April right after rotation, so that everybody would have to build decks for that tournament.
And it probably was not at a time when Warlock had access to Doomguard, which it now will, because Doomguard is back. It's going to go directly into Sludge Warlock and be terrifying.
5 mana, 5/7 charge, battlecry, discard 2 random cards. Yep.
All the charge is back.
With Forge of Wills, by the way.
Yeah. Doomguard and Southsea Deckhand and Leroy. It's really, really a little scary. Definitely classic Hearthstone, but a little scary to see all the charge come back.
Some lethality would be. I feel like we've had relatively low lethality with some exceptions, some notable exceptions, but
Yeah.
for
I'm
a
not
while.
complaining.
It is somewhat spooky. We have a sort of handlock card in Dark Alley Pact. Summon a fiend with taunt and stats equal to your hand size.
Plus Mountain Giant and Molten Giant are coming back into neutrals, which is relevant for Warlock more than anything else.
Where they're probably going to be played, yes. We have Bloodbound Imp. Whenever this attacks, deal 2 damage to your hero, 2 mana, 2/5. We have Demonic Studies. Discover a demon. Your next one costs 1 less. And we have the Lesser Amethyst Spellstone.
Yeah.
Right, which is why those are all there, right? Because
Lesser Amethyst Spellstone with the new 2 mana, 2/1, deal 2 damage to your hero, draw a card, and Death Rattle. Do that again. Just instant upgrade to the Spellstone. That's spooky.
plus we also have the whole fatigue package is staying, right? So that's also there too.
They're just crazy pushing handlock. It's actually nuts. Like the Dark Alley Pact change where the thing that it summons has taunt now. It didn't originally have taunt, and so it never saw play. But I think there's a very real chance that we're going to see a handlock because the location is nuts, and then having access to that into Dark Alley Pact or Mountain Giant, Molten Giant, and we still are going to have the 4 mana 7/7 taunt, right? So,
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in Warlock that is staying. So, Sludge Warlock, essentially all staying. And, we're losing Imp Lock, but that had kind of gone out already. We're losing Amorphous Slime and Thaddeus. Thank God, finally.
Good, get out.
Sorry to the 2 of you in the Discord who kept playing it the entire time. But you had your time. You had your time to play it. But we're keeping a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, we lose all the curses. So that whole package is gone. We're losing Dark Hundredth Gigafin, obviously, because we're losing all the colossals. That's a thing. Tome tampering is going out of the Prison of Yogg-Saron pool. So that is good news for exactly Moop Interface.
I'm sure there will be something to take its place as the low roll.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. But yeah. But at least you won't get tome tampering anymore. So.
And you won't have that one person play Immolate against you, and then you start sitting there going, what is my MMR right now? Why did someone hit me with
because
Immolate?
Immolate's going out also, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But most of the stuff that's being currently played in Warlock is staying. Warlock stuff, which never really saw play, is going out.
Yeah. Oh, Scourge Supplies is another big one. That's a draw card it's not played in Sludge Warlock, but it's commonly played in things like the Insanity Warlock or whatever, right? As a draw engine. So that's a really legitimate one that's going out also.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Shallow Grave is also going out with the rest of the Death Rattle stuff.
Yeah. So none of that cheating out, but we're keeping Fatigue and we're keeping Sludge. A lot of those packages that took a while to see play, but are now seeing play.
Yeah, and the control stuff from Titans like Sargeras and Forge of Wills and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are
Not
very
that
important.
Forge of Wills is actually being used in a control deck; it's being used to murder people. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of always how it's going to be used, is to murder people.
Yeah.
To control people in the face, yeah.
Exactly.
The first thing I'm going to do when we get the new core is probably going to be handlock, honestly, because it will be the easiest thing to build because it's just very obvious with the stuff. The location is going to be nuts with all of this, and there's losing tour guide is a big deal. But
and you don't have some Fairy Protector or what's his face?
I don't think it matters when you get a rush version of whatever big thing you're playing, right? Like,
yeah. I'm not saying it does. I'm just pointing out facts. That's all I'm saying.
And particularly when Dark Alley Pact, the thing is going to have taunt. If you play the 4 mana 7/7 taunt, obviously it has taunt. So like being able to do those alongside the location, and also Lesser Amethyst Spellstone. Yeah, I'm definitely big on the handlock possibilities.
And that's definitely a nostalgia.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was either going to be that or Zoolock, right? And we already had imps rotating out here, so I think hand luck makes a lot of sense.
Well, that leaves us with just one class.
Warrior. All right, so we are losing in core Armegadillo, Dino-Matic, a card I forgot was in core, Sword Eater, Cruel Taskmaster, and Woodcutter's Axe. But we are gaining Fiery War Axe out of this deal.
Excuse me, it is Fiery Win Axe.
I'm sorry, I was mispronouncing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
And
2
it's
mana
OG
again.
OG Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, see, Fiery War Axe is the 3 mana 3/2. Fiery Win Axe is the 2 mana 3/2. It's a very important distinction.
I don't know how I feel about this revisionist history, but okay.
We are also keeping Sanguine Depths, so that it's going straight into core.
Yep.
Which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Enrage Warrior goes in and out and is just changes a lot, but it's also kind of a core and nostalgic identity for Warrior to have Enrage stuff.
They're gonna have to come up with something else as a payoff because a bunch of the Enrage was from Nathria,
Yeah.
right? The Infused Weapon and the Anima Extractor. So don't know if there's going to be something immediately to take the place. Frothing Berserker hasn't made the cut in a while.
We still have Grom.
But yeah, there's still Grom, and certainly...
You need a little bit more than Grom to justify putting that in your deck, but
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, pretty much that entire deck as it is now, except for some of the fire stuff, is rotating.
Yeah.
The idea of Enrage Warrior, perhaps at some point this year, we'll have one. We're also getting Cargo Guard, which was at the end of your turn, gain 3 armor, a 3 mana 2/4 pirate.
Mhm.
We're getting Town Crier, 1 mana 1/2 battle cry, draw a rush minion from your deck.
I cannot express how insane Town Crier is.
Yeah.
It's so good. You can draw your Ziliax, you can draw your Excavate Rush thing. If
Burrowbuster, yeah.
If we do get more Enraged stuff, I am sure some of it will have Rush. Yeah, very happy about this one.
Like, even if it's just tutor your Ziliax. Right, like that's crazy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We also are getting Deathwing Mad Aspect. 8 mana 12/12, battle cry, attack all other minions. So yours too. Just, it's Deathwing. He doesn't care about preserving.
It's my favorite Deathwing, though, and honestly the best Deathwing. Either you get an 8 mana 12/12 or you kill some stuff. It's very, very powerful.
They're all good Deathwings, though.
I mean, one of them's objectively terrible.
I also like the art on this one. This is a
very good art. I believe I got the Deathwing hero in part because of this card.
So some of the things that we are losing out of Warrior, we mentioned a lot of the Enraged things from Nathria are leaving. We're keeping the Rifts. That we're losing Remornia. We are losing, we must be losing Trent Stalker. Yeah, that's Voyage to the Sunken City.
I mean, did we ever have it?
Did we ever
really?
have it? We kind of kept thinking we did. I mean, a lot of things that are being, obviously Odin Warrior, keeping that. We're keeping Trial by Fire, which is still insane. All of the Highlander things.
I'm going to miss Olgra. Yeah.
We are going to miss Olgra.
Yeah. And like all the fire spells, so like Light of the Phoenix, Embers of Strength, Sun Fury Champion, Thori Balor, a Fortune Flame isn't really part of that package, but we're losing that too. Some of like the armor stuff from Sunken City, like Tidal Revenant and Igneous Lava Gorger, from the Depths is a big one that we're losing, which will be relevant for Odin Warrior, because Odin Warrior still runs a copy of that.
Yeah.
I won't miss that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot less consistent for Highlander decks to get their payoff without Finley, and in the case of Warrior, without Abyssal Depths, right?
Yeah, definitely. But we're still keeping a lot of things that are key to Warrior decks, and I can't imagine that we'll have as much of a drought on Control Warrior as we did before the current iterations.
Control Warrior is doing just fine, I think.
Oh, we're also losing the most important card, which is Fires of Zinajari.
Only to be used in that one combo of evil.
I mean, for Prison of Yogg-Saron relevance, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or the random times where you're like, this matchup is terrible. Let me see if I can just get there playing big dumb idiots.
Yeah.
Well, we're losing some big things with Remornia, with Olgra, but we're getting Inventor Boom.
Yes. I am excited about Inventor Boom. I think it'll be interesting to see builds both of deck with duplicates and without, right? The Ran with Boom can do some crazy stuff, but I imagine there's some specific things you can do when you are running duplicates. So yeah, just the fact that they go face.
All right. Well, do we have any final words on the rotation? I mean, as always, I'm really excited for the rotation. I feel like I'm very ready for this one, but also I have enjoyed this past 10-year year, but I'm really excited for what we're going to do for the 10th anniversary year and the nostalgia coming back, but trying to make cards that are coming back really relevant to modern Hearthstone.
Yeah. And I don't know if we mentioned this last time or whatever, but the evasive stuff, Evasive Worm and Fairy Dragon now have a keyword, which is elusive, which I think it's kind of funny that a lot of them are called evasive whatever, and then the keyword is elusive. But, they have keyworded, can't be targeted by spells or hero powers.
Thank goodness. It's only been 10 years that we've been asking them to do that.
Yeah.
And I understand the reasoning for it. It's short enough to fit on a card without having to do a keyword. And if you've ever played Runeterra, you know that keyword fatigue is a real thing. But also, I mean, maybe we're going to have something that affects elusive minions, right? Usually when they do a keyword is one of the reasons they do keywords is either because the thing is too long to print on every card, or because they have something that cares about things that have that effect.
No, you know why they did it?
And why?
I think they did it because of Ziliax.
Oh yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that might be it.
Because
that makes sense actually.
The virus module is 3 mana 1/3 stealth elusive poisonous reborn. And
oh yeah, that probably got into text box limits with everything else that they're doing with that card. Yeah,
right. You could not put that effect on anything when you consider that it can be combined with any of the other half cards that have text. So
thanks, Ziliax.
Yeah, exactly. So it might not be just Ziliax, but I think definitely if there was a moment where they were like, we want this to be one of the abilities, and they're like, well, it can't be unless we keyword it, then yeah.
Okay.
But that is going to do it. So, gosh, I think this is probably our longest show we've recorded together as the three of us. But
yeah.
We'll see what comes out in the editing. It's usually never more than a few minutes, though. So, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at Concede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/CoinConcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. And write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede, as well as like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinConcede. If you would like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, the Grumpy Monk, the Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Forgiven One, Grizzly Bear, and to the Grand Arcanum. Thank you to Ben Hearthstone for the sub during the show. And Coin Concedes.
Well, I'm going to Coin Concede to Saucy Mailman, who was a Hearthstone creator way back when. Has not been for a while now, but he just launched his own coffee company, Dragon Roast Coffee, and all the different coffee blends are named after D&D classes.
Amazing.
They have a paladin roast, a necromancer roast, a druid roast, and a monk roast. So, and he just posted on Twitter that he was shipping out his first shipment today. So congratulations to him on launching. It looks very cool. I don't drink coffee anymore, but if I did, I would try some. But maybe they will come out with some teas that I can try eventually.
Well, I will coin concede 1 to McBanterface in the Trollden video. Poor guy just got absolutely destroyed by the most random BS from rogues imaginable. So thank you for enduring that for our entertainment, because it was extremely entertaining to watch. And also a coin concede to the two of you for for putting up with doing a longer episode instead of this and a bonus episode. It's really been a super busy week and especially weekend for me. So this is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and it didn't.
Well, it's helpful for me too, because like I've had a week from hell and I'm looking forward to just completely crashing tomorrow on the day off that I'm taking. So now we can do that. So
yeah, I mean, my concerns were just about whether we'd be going over the 3-hour mark, and we are 20 minutes shy of that. So it's all right. It worked out in the end. So I am going to coin concede to Minthara. I've been doing an evil run of Baldur's Gate 3, and Minthara is really the incentive to do that. I love Karlach. Karlach is the best, but I have come to appreciate Minthara on this run, and just a highlight line I was a little worried in Act 2, because you recruit her, and then she kind of just doesn't have a lot of stuff going on. There's a few moments, but I was sort of like, oh, well, she's cool, but I feel like there's not as much conversation there as I would like for a character that you only get for being evil. And you get to Act 3, she gets, more dialogue and stuff, and just a highlight of my day was you go to this circus, and there's a clown performing with some bad puns. And Minthara says something along the lines of, "Would you like me to kill this clown? I'm sure everyone will hail us as heroes." And I just lost it. Yeah. I'm very, very pleased with this playthrough. As challenging as it is to bring myself to make some of the decisions that you have to do in an evil run, I don't know that I could do it again. No, I could not do it again. And they have made it easier to recruit Minthara if you're not doing an evil playthrough. So I'm probably not going to do another one. But it has been pretty interesting embracing the dark side with Astarion and Shadowheart and everyone. Lae'zel, I kind of wish they did differently, but yeah, it's been a time.
Wow. It wouldn't be an episode if we didn't get at least one Baldur's Gate reference.
I know, I saved it to the end.
Point.
Just kind of snuck it in there.
I was worried, I was worried that we wouldn't be an official episode. We'd have to, start over from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
if everyone wants any help with builds, we now have a thread within the Other Games channel in the Discord.
Probably should just have our own its own channel probably, at this point. I might just do it.
Yeah. Just ask, and I will give you more information than you bargained for regarding Baldur's Gate 3 builds.
My game was extremely boosted by this. I had a bard build with dual-wielded crossbows, and it was pretty good. And Edel said, no, take a look at this video. And it was just an order of magnitude better. And now I'm just like one of those people who's like, can this game be a little bit harder? Because I spent hours and hours and hours getting a perfect build, and now it's easy.
all set to try honor mode. Yeah.
All right. So before we do go over the 3-hour mark, that'll do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and please put King Plush in the gear store. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose